indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment.
Frank Campana. Back on your July 1st meeting, I went to look for minutes, and I didn't see anything posted. There were minutes for June 17th and then June 15th, but it could have been my error, too. But in any event, my fallback was to go to the YouTube, and I just needed to reaffirm what I had spoke about. I commented on the lack of public hearing for police chief's contract. Okay? So one time last week, I called the town administrator, and I asked her for a copy of the contract. And she informed me that it's not a contract, it's an agreement. Well, when I received it, sure enough, I mean, I didn't think she was misleading me, but it says agreement. My concern is, and I've used this adage before, when you don't like the way the game is played, you change the rules. So that's what you did. You've done away with the word contract, which eliminates the need for a public hearing, and you've had an agreement. So you've cut the throat of the taxpayers and anybody concerned in getting information on an agreement. I don't know where I go to get questions and ask questions and answered in public on an agreement. Maybe I get put on the agenda. I don't know. I can't do it. Reluctant kind of to do it in public comment because I kind of walk a fine line, of commenting and having a question answered, which you guys generally don't like to do, I guess. So, to further that, I went on YouTube for your last meeting, July 15th, and I happened to catch the very end. I never watch it, either broadcast or YouTube. I never watch it, beginning to end. Even if I'm sleeping, that's better than watching Selectmen's meeting from beginning to end. But I happened to catch the ending, when you folks have, if you've discuss any comments and, questions from people. And the chairman, let's see, and it's very hard for me to transcribe from the words to, to paper, no matter how many times I try, so bear with me, please. The chairman indicated that he received and read comments on Weare, on the Weare transfer station, road issues, DPW, and the lack of paving on a particular section of road. So the chairman furthered his conversation with the board that you try to answer the questions that are, forwarded to you. You try to be informative of those responses. And actions made on camera, well, actually, that's part of where I got all mixed up, but part of that informative was in regards to actions the board has taken on camera. And you also furthered some comments to you folks, or I guess to you specifically, were due to lack of information by the person making the comments to you. And you furthered that by offering, come to our meetings and talk about it. We don't bite, we just nibble. Okay, so you're inviting somebody to come to your meeting and talk about whatever their concern might be. Well, you can't talk about it in public comment because you generally don't like to answer questions. You like to have the questions posed to you well in advance, so maybe you can respond to them, which I can understand a little bit. So what does the person do, get put on the agenda? I guess that's the only alternative, so they can discuss something public. So you're inviting people to do that. So now I'm going to back up to my July 1st comments on the contract, all right? From this end of the table to that end of the table, somebody could have had the mettle to tell me it was not a contract, it was an agreement. Don't you think? Okay? If you have an issue, come to the meeting and talk about it, all right? Tries to be informative. And there was another one too, but I didn't write it down. So you missed the ball on all of that. And I thank you very much. And I stood up here many, many, many times and said I can stand to be corrected, all right? But I was not. Not one of you folks said, well, Frank, you're wrong, it's an agreement, not a contract. And I'll refer to one of the selectmen who has said about people in public comment, the people in public comment, they stand up here and they throw a gotcha to the board. Well, you got me. You got me, Jack.
Now you know what it feels like, Frank. If you get
Well,
up,
I'm glad you said that, Jack. You know why? Because that shows just what you're made out of. Tit for tat.
if you had gotten on the agenda, you would have gotten the answers you asked for.
Neil Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. I'd like to talk about two things, the chief's contract and the agenda. First, the chief's contract. You may call it an agreement, but it's a contract, and I would hope that you would check with town council to make sure that you haven't violated your own rules by not holding a public hearing on this, which is, as I understand it, required when you enter into a contract. Simply changing the name of a form from contract to agreement doesn't change anything. A rose is still a rose. The contract seems to have no termination date, which is very unusual. As far as I can tell, once the probation period is over, the contract goes on until such time as the selectmen determine that they no longer wish to employ the police chief, and they can only make that determination if they find the chief has committed a crime or something like that, or there is just cause. In other words, if the town is dissatisfied with the police chief, you cannot fire the police chief for that reason, because that's not just cause. I think that you've boxed yourself and the town in a way that's very disadvantageous to the town. The other thing that I find rather interesting is that upon termination for just cause, the police chief is still going to get 3 months' pay. So if the chief commits a crime and is terminated for that reason, the chief gets 3 months' pay. I think that's what the contract says. Was that the board's intent? I hope you'll review this with council to make sure you followed the right procedure. Second point on the agenda, with respect to political signage policy that's coming up this evening. The folks who are asking for a change are a particular group of people with a particular agenda, which is fine. But sometimes, in response to one group, we set a broad statement of policy which inadvertently would apply in ways that we hadn't intended and wouldn't want to happen. So I would ask that before you change the policy, you have some sort of a public hearing on it, on the change, so that you can get input from people to make sure that what you're intending to do is what is actually being accomplished by the language of the change. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Tom?
As you know, I've bugged the board a number of times about the sign in front of the town hall, and that goes back to when I was sitting there as well. I've been in contact with Joe Fiala, a former selectman, and he also is very interested in seeing that replaced. I think particularly now with the bell tower has been fixed, the town hall's looking good, and to dress up that area in the front would be very appropriate. Now, initially, I had gotten an estimate to refurbish the upper part of that sign. It was a $2,500 estimate to do that. Now, looking closer at the bottom part that had been repainted with new channels put on it a few years ago, that's starting to deteriorate too. The wood is getting a little punky, and the people have put duct tape on it that peels the paint off and it comes off. So what I would like is the board's permission to go a step further and get a couple of estimates on replacing that sign. And also, Joe had a suggestion for maybe some alternate funding for it as well. So before I do anything, I would just like the boards go ahead to collect the information. Certainly would not go ahead with anything without coming back, because it's your decision of what to do. But I'm volunteering to do the legwork for it, really, to get some estimates and look at the possibility of other funding for it. So that's my spiel. And like I said, nothing would happen without this board's go-ahead. But I'd be willing to do that because I really want to see that replaced with something that looks nice and maybe blends in with the other signage that's been put in town lately.
I do want to tell you, I did bring that up after you spoke to me, and it was discussed shortly that may be one of the things we'd have to put off until next year, because of the, we want to keep some funds in the fund right now that we're
Right.
taking the monies out of. So I
Yeah, well,
I
Joe
do want you to know, I did bring it up after you
Yeah.
spoke to me.
Joe suggested that I go to the trustees of the trust fund to see what might be available through
Okay.
that. So that would be the route that we would take. But again, I don't want to do the work and say, no, forget it, Tom. I mean, even though whatever we come up with is going to be your decision, but all I'm asking for is permission to go ahead and do the legwork on this.
I mean, I'm not opposed, it's just gonna be the funding side of it,
Right.
you know, how it's funded.
I'm not opposed either. I mean, if you want to take a vote, or do you want
Probably should look for 3 bids too, Tom,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be over $1,000.
Yeah, well, I know I got two companies in mind. And certainly I should be able to find a third one.
Like I said, I'm sure that it's gonna be, you know, at least, like they said, over 1,000 at least, if not more.
Oh, well, it's certainly going to be
I'm expecting 25
considerably more
minimum,
than that.
but,
to replace
again,
the
just
whole thing.
funding is gonna be my only thought, that's all.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe you do a little bit of legwork on the funding side before we go ahead and do the actual, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do if you don't know how much it's going to cost. though.
That's right, there you
to?
go.
Well, we'd need it for budgeting purposes anyway.
Yeah, because if it's not this year and the trustees don't have it, then we'll have to budget for
Do
next
it in
year.
the spring.
So,
Yeah, what I'd like to do is perhaps come back at the end of August with something if I can get it done before then.
At least a rough number, so we can think ahead.
Yeah, okay. Just, I wasn't coming in to comment on this, but the issue of the signage, you know, the group that asked for consideration on that certainly is open to any speaker, regardless of affiliation with whatever party, to have their name on the sign if they're going to speak at the town hall. That's the whole point, you know, whether it's Democrat, Republican, or the governor, or somebody else. It's just to be able to let people know if there's a speaker going to be available at the town hall on a given date. Okay. Thank you very much.
So. And a public comment real quick, because we're almost there.
Donna Osborne, South Stack Highway. I'd like to see maybe the sign-in sheet changed a little bit. If you go to the school board meetings, you have to sign in to speak. It's got a place for your name. Are you going to talk? Yes or no? And you cannot talk unless you sign in the sheet. I'd like to have that considered.
you doing? Nathan Smith. I'm a resident on East Shore Drive. I'm also the president of the East Shore Drive Road Association. May 20th was the first and last time I was before you to bring attention to a known issue, that of which is the road of East Shore Drive. I was told by someone was going to get back to me. Nobody had. So in mid-June, I had not heard back from anyone, so I followed up with the town administrator, who stated that they had not heard anything but would reach back out to the town's attorney. Before this meeting tonight, I checked back in, only to be told that there had been no response. I understand that this is not through any fault of the town, but I would like this issue to be a priority. So I would like to begin by stating that I came here today with my arm extended. It's not extended to point fingers or to assign blame to the current situation on East Shore Drive. It is not extended to expect the town to fix the problem and take over the maintenance of the road. It is extended in an attempt to form an alliance, collaboration between the landowners and the town, for everyone involved to stop ignoring the problems that have existed for years, to come up with solutions that make sense and that are sustainable for the future. Let's start with the road itself. The road needs to be surveyed. The town is the owner of the road. The road agent and I took a ride down the road together, and he cannot accurately locate where the road boundaries are. I asked a local contractor to give me an estimate on what would it cost to bring this road up to current code and standards. He refused to do any work on the road due to the aforementioned problems, that being the road boundaries and the encroachment issues. After that road is surveyed, I expect the town to address the encroachment issues. The road agent confirmed last year that there was a landowner dispute regarding encroachment. The town came out and surveyed the properties, and it was determined that there was an issue of encroachment. It is my understanding that the issue still stands unresolved. It is my understanding that it's unresolved. The town is responsible for enforcing these issues. Therefore, these issues trickle down as a problem for road maintenance. The road maintenance agreement itself. I need the town to sit down with me and go over the details of an acceptable road maintenance agreement. We need to create an agreement that is viable and enforceable. It needs to meet or exceed the requirements of the town and serve the best interests of the landowners. This issue was brought to light this past spring when the town denied a building permit on East Shore Drive. The town stated that the road maintenance agreement was insufficient. I came in and met with the building inspector, who stated Article 2 of the Articles of Agreement for the nonprofit corporation titled East Shore Drive Association failed to detail what it is, what it serves, and how it's funded. That homeowner had to get a variance, which was approved by the town, as well as sign an agreement from the fire chief stating that they may receive diminished emergency services because of the insufficient road maintenance agreement. This type of scenario only compounds the problem, approving more traffic on a road that is already acknowledged by the town to be poorly maintained and not sufficiently funded, as well as not providing guidance. Being a recent homeowner, I bought my house 5 years ago, and I was assured the road maintenance agreement was valid, and I was not aware of any type of diminished emergency services. If true, I urge the town to disclose this information to all affected parties, and if guaranteed emergency services are diminished when I need them, and we do not receive town or state aid for the road maintenance, then affected landowners should at least have reflected that in their assessed taxes, we should not be taxed for benefits not received nor guaranteed. Cost. I would like the town to sit down and go over an estimated cost for maintaining a road, a breakdown per mile or linear foot of the cost of material to grade, plow, sand, assess culverts, and assess drainage. This would assist in the design of a road maintenance agreement and determine the proper fees that homeowners and abutters are responsible for, and ultimately make sure that the right work gets done. The road association. Now that we have acknowledged that we have identified that there are problems with the road, there are issues with encroachment, and there are problems with cost and responsibilities of maintaining the road, I would like some guidance on how the association is to function. As of now, there seems to be an assumption that the president, in this case me, is responsible for all things road related. I do not believe this is any one person's responsibility to manage this public right of way. There was no process in place to ensure that I was even capable to perform the expected duties. Help me create the association from the ground up with positions that have clear responsibilities outlined and expectations from all the landowners who are impacted. For example, how is the road maintenance enforced? What repercussions are there for non-payment or non-participation? These are all things that I face and I need help with, and I think the town was a little bit of a responsibility for that. So to recap, survey the road, address encroachment issues, provide guidance for road costs, provide guidance on a proper maintenance agreement, and advise on the structure of the association. So I've come here before you today to demand that we just stop ignoring these critical public safety issues. I would like to leave here tonight with the expectation that we're working together. I would like to schedule a tentative date so that we can begin this process. Not being active in finding a solution is accepting our roles as part of the problem.
I can't give you a date today, can't do that, but we can try and work, like I said, I'll get a hold of the town administrator, and we can, like I said, maybe sit down in a work session type thing, and see what we can figure out.
I understand. I brought these attentions 2 months ago, and I don't think it's a priority. I don't think it's on anybody's list. And I think it's a very critical, because there's about 70 residents that live on that road who are affected.
All right, well, like I said, I mean, it's not that you're not a priority. It's not that we've forgotten about you. That's definitely not, the board's take on that. But again, we will, like I said, we will get a hold of the town attorney
Well,
again.
I think it's time to maybe shuffle it somewhere else.
Okay. All right, then
It's a
that's what we'll do.
conversation we can have. Yeah.
That's a conversation we can have. We'll have it before the end of the night. So at least back and forth to figure out where we're going to meet and how it's all going to go down. As
No,
far as
absolutely. I came in, I met with the town
Yeah.
administrator numerous times. I met with the building, I met with the road agent, and everybody just says, I don't really know what to do. I don't really know what to do. We'll find out. We'll find out. But there's still no answers.
well,
Can I make one comment? Tom?
Yeah.
My father deeded that road to the town. And about a month ago, I drove down that town road. And if anybody can't figure out where that road is, they're nuts. Because if you go down, drive in, and you start looking on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, you're gonna find iron pipes. Those are markers for that road. All you gotta do is find those iron pipes, measure over 33 feet. There's your road right there. That's all you gotta do. I don't know why anybody has problems not figuring out where that road is.
Because you have buildings, you have driveways, you have walls,
understand
and
that.
those are not issues. Those are not
I
issues.
looked down there's enough iron pipes that you can figure out where that road is.
If we're expected to maintain the road, it's under the direct supervision of the town. Now, the town, I can't enforce laws and I can't enforce rules, but I know that if I go building my driveway or property out onto Reservoir Drive, somebody's gonna come tell me to back it up. That's where the town's responsibility is. It's your responsibility to get those people who have built into the road
Not
out of
denying
the
that.
road.
All I'm saying is, anybody should be able to figure out where that road sits,
So that's where we're at.
without surveying it. I don't think that road, because
Well,
the survey cost of that road is gonna be
Does the
astronomical.
road agent represent the town?
Yes, he does.
He could not tell me where the road is.
Well, then he's not, then I can talk to him and I can tell him that those iron pipes are the bounds.
well, I think,
I do
think,
understand that
gentlemen,
as well.
gentlemen, I think we're gonna have to have a meeting,
Yep.
a work session,
Yep.
figure it out,
Absolutely.
get the land plot out that we can roll out and see, and we're gonna have to go from there. So, and like I said, we'll have department, we have DPW Director Knapp there, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
But again, we'll come up with a date
Absolutely.
that works for all of us, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
So, all right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
Naomi, you had no response from the attorney?
What was that?
I just asked if she didn't get any response from the attorney.
I think that other letter covered it.
Okay, we're gonna open a public hearing, well, 10 minutes late, 18:55, to hear public testimony and comment regarding the expenditure up to $48,000 from the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund for the purpose of the road reconstruction project at the Hillside Cemetery off Route 149. Recognize Betty.
Well, for the benefit of people who haven't heard this before, I'm Betty Straw, and I'm chairman of the Mildred Hall Bequest Advisory Committee. And this was our letter as of July 14th, 2019. At the regular meeting of the committee on July 10th, it was voted to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that up to $48,000 be expended from the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund for the road reconstruction project at Hillside Cemetery. Many Eastman family members are buried in this cemetery. 20% of the total cost of the project will come from the Hillside Cemetery Association. And this is, and I'm going to abbreviate this a little. I won't read the whole page. The project is to include reconstruction of the west side of the interior roadway entrance and related work at Hillside Cemetery. Also to take place will be patching of some 15 cracks in existing paved interior roadway on the east side of the cemetery. And they gave us plenty of supporting details, and a little later Jack Dearborn can elaborate on this. Millie and her family were longtime South Weare residents. Millie was an active member of the South Weare community. She served on the board of the Hillside Cemetery Association and was the treasurer for many years. Millie's buried in Hillside Cemetery along with her husband and relatives. The family lot is located on the west side of the cemetery, close to the proposed project. This project, if approved, will take place this year and finish in 2020. Total cost of the project, although not finalized, is $60,000. And the association states we have minimal funds that are used for the care and upkeep of the cemetery, especially long-term. We can contribute 20% or $12,000. The total amount of funds being requested from the Mildred Hall Trust, and actually this is from the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund. There's no such thing as a Mildred Hall Trust as far as I know. Total amount being requested is 80% or $48,000. Your consideration is greatly appreciated. Any questions?
I don't.
Any board members have any questions? No. Okay. Short
Okay.
Short synopsis from last week.
Good evening. My name is Jack Dearborn. I live at 148 Gould Road in Weare, New Hampshire. And I'll briefly go through this. Okay. Essentially, the objectives of Hillside Cemetery Road infrastructure upgrade is to provide safe, adequate, long-term access to existing cemetery lots and future interments. Probably the most important and the biggest effect on the cost is do no harm to the scenic beauty and preserve the community cemetery during the infrastructure upgrade project. Preserve the scenic maples. Those are 6 big maples along the west side of the road. Do no damage to those when we remove the asphalt and some of the aggregate and replace it with loam. We're going to limit the loads hauled in there at 12 yards volume so that we minimize the amount of damage to the existing road. That's not going to be done. And the last one is, as a result of the above efforts, some additional interment space will become available to provide long-term support to the community. Basically, I got a little picture here which illustrates sort of like an oval track, if you will, and an entrance coming off 149. Essentially, it's the backside. Up here is essentially a large part with a small entrance here. There is a series of pictures that I showed last time. And there is a specification for the road construction, and that basically is excavate 15 inches of material, topsoil and whatever is required to get on 15 inches. And then we will fill 8 inches of 3- aggregate, and then 4 inches of 1 inch minus aggregate on top of that for the base and sub-base. And then, according to typical spec for a driveway or a road, 2 inches of binder, 3/4 aggregate concrete, asphalt concrete compacted. And on top of that is 1 inch of wear coat of 3/8. As earlier mentioned, the total project is $60,000, and some of the numbers in there would be, there is roughly $24,000, there's roughly $20,000 to do the excavation and material for rebuilding the road. Reestablish lawns when it's all done, roughly $11,000, and that's for like 29 loads of loam to upgrade the area that's been affected. Tree work, $2,500. Part of the problem is the trees have never been trimmed and that I can remember, and the machinery getting underneath those maple trees and other oak trees doesn't have enough clearance, so there needs to be some removal of some branches on the trees. And then the existing road that's not being redone, right now there is a 5-foot by 11-foot section that needs to be cut out. There's also a 3-foot and a 2-foot. And then on top of that, there's the remaining cracks, that would be around 10, are going to have to be crack filled with liquid asphalt that's done at temperature. Basically, this year we're intending to do the dirt work, install the base binder coat of the asphalt, bring in all the material for the loam activity, and then next year we will apply the 1 inch and do the final grain on the loam and seed. And other than that, it's just Mildred E. Hall Advisory Committee. It's from the C&E Eastman Fund, $48,000, which is 80%. Hillside Cemetery Trust Association is 20%, $12,000 for a total of 100% and $60,000.
Thank you. Anybody like to comment on it? Yes, no, maybe?
Frank Campana, just a curiosity question. The Hillside Cemetery Trust Association, how do they generate funds? They're going to expend money. How do they generate to probably replace that?
The Cemetery Association is a 501c13 nonprofit. It's filed on the state of New Hampshire and recognized by the IRS. And we sell lots, and we also take contributions from people as well. So basically, it's a sale of lots. A lot of our money is tied up in perpetual care, which was listed on the deeds a long time ago. So most of that money cannot be touched. Monies that we have that we can touch are the deeds that do not have perpetual care and/or gifts given to the Cemetery Association.
And Jack, you mentioned last week also that you guys work off of the interest.
Pardon me?
You guys work off interest?
Yes.
Generated from that?
Principally, the interest, well, it's you can't say gains. It's the interest that comes from the investment on the perpetual care funds, and those are limited. So.
Okay. Anyone else? Please.
Tim Matheson. I'd like to see the board support this because two of your biggest trust funds in Weare that have paying for a lot of other projects in Weare. I think it'd be disrespectful not to go ahead with this. In my eyes, it'd be a good thing to support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Good evening, Richard Butt. I understand you're going to be considering the hometown hero later on today.
Yeah, that's
I
correct.
think everybody that made the meeting tonight maybe should be considered.
What's that?
I think everyone that made the meeting tonight should be considered for the hometown. I'm probably going to be swimming against the current on this one. First, I'd like to talk about the will, Mildred Hall's will, and the request.
Can't hear you, Tip.
They can't hear you out
They
there.
can't hear
I don't know if I can speak any louder.
You want to talk about the Mildred Hall will?
I'm going to, two things, yeah. The Mildred Hall will be one of them. I just want to read from the will. I'm assuming you guys have copies of the will, knowing what your responsibilities are associated with the will.
Not in front of us, no.
Well, Article 16 of the will, this is in 2004, it was created, states by Mildred Hall, I direct that the selectmen of the town appoint a committee of 3 members of the Weare Historical Society to recommend to the selectmen such projects as will improve and assist the town of Weare. I understand that this cemetery is a private cemetery. It's not a town cemetery. And I don't consider that cemetery, that cemetery, under those conditions, meets the requirements of improve and assist the town of Weare. I guess you can interpret it however you want to. I'm interpreting it in a way that doesn't think that this satisfies and meets the conditions of the will. It's my opinion. The Mildred Hall Committee, members of the Historical Society, when I was a selectman, Selectman Clow as well at the same time, we had several discussions with the Mildred Hall Committee on how the money was being spent, why it was being spent on certain things, and deeper discussions as to what are their requirements, what are the conditions they consider that money should be used for. And it sounds like it may have changed a little bit over the years. Everything previously has been purchase of land, and according to a member of the advisory board, it is the committee's opinion that any project recommended should provide a permanent benefit to the town of Weare. And it goes on to talk about the easements and purchase of land for protecting land. I thought the gazebo was was different than what they had done previously, but having read the plaque tonight before I came over here, apparently the gazebo is the memorial, which was specified in the will. She requested that a suitable memorial be designated in memory of her parents. Reading the plaque in front of the gazebo, it states that the gazebo is the memorial for Charles and Ethel Eastman. So it satisfied the conditions of the will. I don't think using this money for a private cemetery that most people in the town probably don't even know where it's at. I don't know how many people frequent it. I know I've driven through it, and there are some bumps, for sure, that need to be fixed. Maybe the road needs to be repaired. I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning whether or not the money in the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund should be used to support that. Again, it's my opinion that the will does not state that sufficiently. In addition to that, what hasn't been said to the board is that Mildred Hall also gave money to other entities in town, individuals and associations. She also gave $50,000 to the Hillside Cemetery. So I'm not asking an accounting of that money, but obviously she felt as though that she wanted to leave some money to the cemetery, which she did. As far as I know, any of the other entities that she left money to, whether it's the town hall, the Stone Building, or Clinton Grove, has anyone ever gone back to the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund, to the committee, rather, seeking more money in support of any of those additional things that she gave money to. So I think it's odd. It's certainly not a permanent thing. It's asphalt. It was stated it's a blight on the town. You can't see it for sure. Imagine if you drive up there, you may consider it a little bumpy. I don't know, I would say it's a blight on the town. Again, it's a private cemetery. I don't think the money should be used for that. In addition to that, it's I guess it's, as was stated earlier, it's a nonprofit. Does that mean that all nonprofits that are in the town, whether it's Sugar and Spice or any other nonprofit organization, can now go to the Mildred Hall Committee and expect to get money in support of whatever their endeavor is, or whether it's a capital item or what? It just seems like it's changed course. I wish you'd get the committee, the Mildred Hall Committee, to document what their criteria is now, if it's changed, and for the board to agree and just move on from there. Again, Chairman Clow at the meetings stated that the committee has chosen projects that will be a permanent benefit to the town of Weare. He said if the committee continues with this usage, they won't be saving the money, but they will be providing the citizens with a permanent benefit. I don't see that this project that's been proposed tonight before the board is a permanent benefit or benefit to the town in whole. Thanks.
Peter. Any other comment?
There again, I believe it's the best interest in the town to accept this project, as there may be a day when the Hillside Cemetery Association dissolves, and then it will be, that cemetery will be a ward of the town, and they'll help take care of it. So by addressing the issue now and preserving it, I think it's a step in the right direction. Maybe I had a line to talk about this, Jack, but also during one of our meetings, we talked about using Eastman Memorial Lane as part of a statement for the project. If you name the new road up around the back Eastman Memorial Lane, or something to do with the Eastman family, would be you would pay respect and homage to the people that, like there again, two of your biggest trust funds in town, the people reside there. So, and nothing more permanent than a cemetery.
End of the road.
Neil Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. I support the use of this money. However, I think Dick Butt has raised some very important questions, and I think before you go ahead and approve this, you ought to check with town council to make sure that this is a legitimate use of money from this fund in accordance with the will. Hopefully, council will say, yes, it can be used, but I think that's the prudent thing to do. Thank you.
It's unfortunate we don't have a slide. You can see the road deterioration in front of the Eastman family gravesite. So, I mean, no, I know. I mean, no, so we could show some of that. That's all I meant. Like this picture. I mean, I know what you're saying. I know.
I'm not questioning the project. I'm questioning where the money's coming to support it.
Right,
I don't
I
need to see the
understand.
pictures
I
and throw over
understand,
there, so
yeah.
I know what the conditions are like. I'm sure it's a justifiable project. I don't think the money coming from that fund should support it, that's all.
Okay.
In the wisdom of the Eastmans, Mildred Hall, she left it to the interpretation of a subcommittee. And it's pretty broad what it says, for the benefit of the town of Weare. Now, people who die in the town of Weare can be buried there, okay? Or if they choose, they can be up in the center of the town. So I could see people, reading into this. I'm not suggesting that they have immoral reasons for doing that. I'm just saying that if you read on the face value, for the benefit of the town, and her entire family is there along that road, and yes, she did leave $50,000 to the association as a gift. Unfortunately, that was a long time ago, and the money is required for the maintenance, which is not burned on the town at all. Is paid for principally through some of her money that she left. So the reason we're requesting this funds, if we spent all the money that we have to do this job, we wouldn't have enough money to do the annual maintenance, and as a result of that, it'll end up in your lap. So, you guys have made significant bequests around the town. I can't name them all, but some of these, it may benefit the town broadly, but not people in particular. So I don't know. I just think this is overly engineering the solution here. So I'd ask you to go forwards and make a decision tonight on our request. Thank you.
Thank you. Betty?
I knew Mildred Eastman quite well, I think, particularly at the last part of her life. And I can almost hear her saying, yes, go ahead. Use some of that money to fix the cemetery, because South Weare and its environments were very, very dear to her. And I did a little research in the town history, and that cemetery started out with different parcels. The old section is up on the hill. The third settler of Weare, Thomas Worthley, is buried up there. In 1888, they didn't know where, but they knew he was up there. And since that time, the Worthleys have put up a monument that's fairly impressive. And then in subsequent years, other people have added to it either by deed. In fact, one of the deeds specified that he be allowed to pasture his sheep and young cattle there. And later on, the final gift, which made the cemetery the size that it is now, I guess, did away with that recommendation. But it's grown, but it's part of Weare, it's part of Ware's history, and that was very important to Mildred. And I can just hear her saying, go for it. And I hope that you will act accordingly and without too much more delay, because time is of the essence to get this done. And get it done when you can get the contractors lined up.
Right.
And we're trying to use local help as much as possible too, which is a benefit to the town of Weare.
Thank you, Betty. Anyone else like to comment? Going once, twice? Okay, close the public hearing. 7:20. Okay. Board members? Any comments, concerns, revelations since last week, 2 weeks ago?
The only thing I have to say is that Mildred Hall gave $1.6 million to the town of Weare. It's made a lot of money for us. We've invested in a lot of property to preserve the, quaint environment here, so we don't have house lots everywhere. And I think that with all the money that we've used and spent that's benefited the town over the last 10 years or so, I think it would be pretty shameful for us not to try to make this cemetery improvement, which is fairly minimal, really, out of respect to the family that's left so much money to the town, and the town has all benefited from it. Every person that lives in town benefits from conservation land, whether it's, an aquifer, or water, or the animals, so that people can walk out and see. I just think it's kind of the right thing to do.
For the buildings.
Yeah, the town buildings, don't forget about those.
Yep.
They've done.
Yeah, I think it's just
End of the table.
I understand what Dick said, and without having a copy of the will in front of us, but I also understand that the money that we've used from that fund, like you said, to the betterment of the town. And on the other side of it, I would say that we should do this project just for the respect of the family. They're interred there, and if
Exactly.
we can't take care of the place where they're interred, then to me, that's more of a
shame on us.
sacrilege than it is anything else. That they gave us the money, we can't even take care of where they're buried and in the area that they've donated to us. And I think that's the other side of it. I think that's where we have to look at it more than anything else. That's just my 2 cents on it.
No, that's,
John?
I think a picture's 1,000 words.
John?
I agree with Jack. I
Yeah.
really, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see both sides of it, but
Right, me
I think
too.
in the end of it, I think we have the obligation to do it.
Yeah, and I would lean to agree. It's, again, it's where they are, it was their funds, and I would like to think that the town would step up and take care of, especially with their own funds, take care of where they are, so.
I make the motion to spend $48,000 from the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund for
I'll
the
second.
purpose of the road reconstruction project at Hillside Cemetery.
I'll second
the
it.
motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay.
Thanks, folks, we appreciate it.
Yes,
Okay, Dick.
all right. All set? All right, up next, we'll recognize Brenda Cannon with the library update.
And here, I thought it was gonna be really late when this.
No.
Anyway, the library continues to operate within their limited budget. As you know, we were the library was one of the few places that did not get a warrant article passed to get additional monies to have additional projects funded there. July was very successful. We had our first comic day here in Weare, in spite of the heat. I didn't see any of you there, but, it was over 100 degrees in the building, so I can kind of understand that. At the end of this month, well, actually, beginning August 1st, which is Thursday, the library is having the wrap-up party for all the summer reading program. As I told you before, it's been a very successful program. They're still doing things at the lake. Writers Guild, they did lots of movies for people at the library. But this Thursday, it all gets wrapped up, and there's an ice cream social. So we'd like to see everybody there. Free ice cream, movie. I don't know what the movie is at this time, but I just want to remind everyone, that the library is there for everyone. It supports the old and young of this town, and a lot of their additional funding does come from one of the groups, Friends of the Library, does fund some of the things that the library is not able to take care of. But I just wanted to let you know that things have gone well there, and that we hope to see you guys at the wrap-up party this Thursday. Come in and enjoy some ice cream.
What time?
6:30.
So we make sure it gets on the record.
Yes.
Now, is that the same day?
Yes, I think that.
His meeting is at,
In the morning.
meet and greet is at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And I'm assuming the library's going to be back in business by Thursday.
Are we
Does your-
not in business?
We're out of water, right?
We're out of water,
Yeah, you can't have the building open without water.
There's no water there
right.
right now.
And I don't know the exact problem right now, but I'm making an assumption, and you know what that means, but I'm making an assumption that we're gonna be back in business by Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to reach out, no one told me what even they found over there.
And I don't know either, so.
Yeah, because I asked to be kept informed, either from, I called the contractor as well, and at 5 o'clock when the phone rang and rang and rang, I figured there was no
Yeah, I
water.
went over there and it was deserted, so I will touch base with everyone
Well,
tomorrow.
I've got a
and-
call too
Oh, okay.
into the vendor to see what he found.
Okay,
Because at first it was like pump or well,
exactly.
because it's not just that building. The
Exactly,
town hall's
there's-
out of water, and I would have guessed the stone building's out of water.
Right.
Probably the Legion,
Right,
too.
yeah, because they did go and
Legion.
try the town hall to see if there was water over there.
There was no water.
And there's no water over there either. So, yeah, it's
Okay.
for public safety right now, they,
Okay.
little kids, they
Yeah,
can't,
it's water.
they
Yeah,
can't
you
have a building
Yeah,
with no
yeah.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've left a message with the contractor to call me.
But like I said, if things go well, we'll have the wrap-up party.
We
We'll
will.
get to, everyone
We'll be
gets to meet
positive.
and greet the chief on Thursday morning.
Yeah, bring your own water.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bring your own ice cream.
Bring a
too.
5-gallon bucket.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
yeah.
All right, political signage policy, follow-up discussion.
So you guys, I forwarded you all what town council had provided. I'm trying to find it here, hang on. There's a huge, long lawsuit, or, I'm sorry, excuse me, court case several years ago about Reed versus the town of Gilbert. And that was the Supreme Court ruled that when municipalities carve out exceptions based upon the content of the signage in question, such as having special categories for political signs, a municipality is engaging in subject matter restrictions, which are only valid if you meet the court's most stringent review. In that case, the town of Gilbert failed to satisfy that strict standard and their sign ordinance was struck down. The concern town council has is that Ware's policy would also end up in the same result. So the encouragement is to revoke and/or significantly revise the current policy that we have, which, that's where we are. It says if the town wishes to regulate signage on property, it must do so in a content-neutral manner, i.e. only place, time, manner restrictions like size limitations, location restrictions, duration of display. Any ordinance or policy that treats political signs or any other subject matter differently is likely illegal. So that's what that's what we've got for an opinion.
Okay. All right.
So the suggestion or the opinion was to revoke and/or significantly revise.
The ordinance?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be, personal, I wouldn't be 100% revoking it, throwing it away.
No, but I think it has to be revised.
But I kind of liked that at the end of it, it was kind of given with the IE's time, place, manner, et cetera.
Names,
You know,
only time.
right, like I said,
Place.
size limitations, locations. You know, that's all stuff we can regulate, I think. And again, I myself, I want to keep the town neutral, neutral as possible, not to be misinterpreted that the municipal of Weare, whoever it may be, is being represented. I don't want, or being supported by said municipality. That would be what I'd want to avoid at all cost. But again, I can see definitely, I said, where it's you know, where the town of Gilbert failed. I can see why they failed.
Right.
But I think that, you know, I think now also too, there's other avenues in this town to broadcast who's going to be here. So I don't think that hard signage on the side of the road is the end-all be-all anymore. That's my own opinion. But again, I think that the selectmen do need to work on a firmer, more legal ordinance. than what we have.
And I think the planning board has to be in on it too, because there's seems like there's conflicting parts of the ordinance.
Right.
Part of it from the planning board, part of it that was passed before. It's like one wasn't updated to the other, or
Right.
part of it, withdrawn or
But I'll throw out the question.
supplemented.
If you look at the zoning ordinance, do you need an additional political sign policy? I think the zoning ordinance talks about the political signs.
Yeah.
I don't know, do we need to compound it and make another one?
Well, I think what we have to do is try to get them all on the same page is more like it, instead of, because they seem to be somewhat in conflict at times of what we've got on one and not on the other. So I think at that point, between the zoning board of adjustment and what they've got and what we get with the planning board, I think that's some of it, and then brought it back before here. And
Well, you could
put it
start,
forth.
you could start maybe we could start looking at the zoning, and there's nothing to say that it can't be consistent.
No, that's right. It's got to be consistent. That's the
Just
biggest
don't
thing.
make it confusing, because that really is tough.
Well, it's kind of,
But
it's kind of going that way now.
I don't want to toot the horn here, but on the other side of it too is some of the planning board regulations revolve only to private or commercial. We're the municipality, and a lot of times we don't. A lot of times the municipality doesn't follow its own rules,
And
we
which is wrong.
exempt ourselves.
Yeah.
But, and that's why I'm thinking maybe it's not. I'm not saying we shouldn't review what the planning board has
Yep.
in the books
No,
and what the ZBA has in the books.
Because it was
but
brought up, and
I know that we don't always follow.
it was brought up at the last meeting that there was, one ordinance was passed at this point, and there was another one that was added on, and it doesn't seem to reflect what's there. And I think that's where we have to make sure that we're not
Well, I
in
think
conflict and from one ordinance to the other. And I think that's where the three groups have to kind of,
Well, I think what we should
Back
do
to
is,
work together.
as this board, is get what the zoning board has on file,
Yep.
on books for signage, get what the planning board has on books for
Right.
signage, take this email,
and,
blend them all together, and come back with ideas.
yeah.
That would be my
That's
thoughts.
exactly it. That's what I'm getting at.
And come back with, again, if the ZBA covers this part of it, we don't need to include it in
Something
an
that's-
ordinance, we don't need to,
Something
you
that's
know.
fair and even-handed, and
Yeah,
it's,
I'm all, like I said,
and
and,
it is not
Yeah.
confusing,
Right.
It's not as clear as mud.
right, and I'll be, again, I'll kind of be redundant here, it's just, my thing is I don't want to see the whole landscape over there covered with somebody's sign. That's what I don't want to see, even if it's the day before they show up, that to me would be excessive.
Yep.
And I want something to limit that, rather than not allow the name out there at all, but that would be my
I think,
thing.
and I think the other part of it too is where we run into a conflict. And some of it is you have to look at what the RSA says, the state law, because if it's within the state right away, it's a different
It's in the
issue
wrong,
than
yeah.
altogether. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think you've got to kind of look at all of it and kind of see what works
I
and try
think-
to make it,
That probably is a
fair and
mistake.
consistent.
Well, I think state right away might have been brought up in that Supreme Court case as well. I'm sure it was. Somewhere along the
Well-
lines it was mentioned, I'm sure. I didn't get to look through it, but I'm sure somewhere in there it was probably mentioned. But
I'm sure that's.
that would be an assumption, I don't like to do that. What's that?
I'm sure that sign's in the state right away.
Oh, it probably is,
A
again.
portion of it.
I mean, it
But,
depends. I mean,
so I think that's what we should do
Reed
is,
versus the town of Gilbert or wherever.
Right.
That's a U.S. Supreme Court, so that isn't,
yeah, it's not home.
so who knows what they're.
If you could
statutes.
maybe just get those two, the planning board's reg on signs and the zoning board's regulation on signs, we can, like I said, we can put them in the food processor and make it all happen.
That's a good
Be
way of
something
putting it.
for a work session.
Huh?
That'd be something for a work session, not a
I think maybe
regular
we
meeting.
can, well, and strolling right into that, maybe we can combine that into the
Class 6 road.
the East Shore
East Shore Drive.
work
Yeah.
session, a 1-2 punch. Who I'd like to also invite, like I said, that the gentleman that was here, anybody
Mr.
from
Smith.
anybody from that association of rank. I don't know. He's the president. I'm sure there's a vice president, secretary, etc. Invite as well, and then obviously us and the DPW director, and maybe Chief Azina, Chief Moore if he'd like to come. Just again, where it was something assigned that decreased emergency service response would be, like I said, and I can't say as I blame the department heads. It's a narrow
I don't
road.
know, I don't know where that would have come from.
I don't know where it would come from either, but,
Because there's an agreement when you build on a Class 6 or private road that indicates that
right away.
there's no responsibility if,
Town.
because the road's cleared, it doesn't say it's gonna be diminished.
Right.
There's that chance it'll happen in a snowstorm or an ice storm, they can't get there.
Right, and I'm,
That's the idea, we don't maintain it.
right, and
So
I'm,
I don't know, I don't like the
think it's
conversation.
And I don't think that, and I think that's, when he said that, it kind of struck me, because we just had that issue this past winter
Yep.
with Blake Road,
Yep.
and even though it's not a town road, I mean, and the fire department would have an issue up there for a structure fire, the town road crew went out and
They've
pushed
done
it back and put
Did
the
what they
salt
could.
and sand to it, and so they could get in and out without issue. I mean, I don't think anybody would
Yeah.
sit back and let that happen.
I mean, the day-to-day maintenance is off the table, and the
Yeah, the
every
maintenance-
storm is off the table, but I
In
mean,
an emergency, yeah, they came to the,
I've called Ben, I've been on a call and I've called Benji direct and said, hey, you got a guy out this way, can you swing by? And next thing you know, I hear blade dropping, so.
they're there, so I
It's
mean,
coming.
I think it's called emergency response, and they do what
And
they're
we-
supposed to. They
We
stepped
all work
up
well
and did it.
together,
Yep.
it's, so.
It's the way it should be.
Right.
So I don't think there'd be diminished service. It's not that they're just not gonna plow it or grade it or anything else. 'cause
Yeah,
it's-
and maybe we can get a copy of that agreement, Jan just has whatever's on file for East Shore, whatever it is on file,
There should be something in the,
whether it's on a napkin or paper towel or whatever it may have been.
Did he hand you a copy of what he read?
No.
Maybe we can get that from him.
Yeah.
It was pretty detailed,
Yeah, it's a lot to
pretty
it.
involved, yeah.
Watch
I know,
YouTube.
I know I was trying to get the Cliff Notes.
I didn't write
Pursue it
that.
too with town council. Can we have an answer from?
Well, I think, I mean, who did we
Yeah,
try and go
beg
after
him.
Bill? Is that what we asked?
well, I mean, we got that last one on Class 6 roads, so.
Yeah, I think that kind of summarizes it.
Still
Yeah,
summarizes it,
Yeah, it's
so.
still kind of, yeah,
And we just had that discussion again at the planning board the other night, so.
okay.
um,
Okay, so, before we leave tonight, we should probably have a date
Yeah.
for that. Date for those work sessions,
yeah.
that we can all meet up at, so. Okay. Hometown hero discussion.
Typically, every other year, I'm sorry, Granite State Telephone alternates between Weare and Chester.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2005 is when the Hometown Hero was done. Basically, they're looking at an individual or an organization that recognized outstanding contributions in the community that they serve. Someone who does hands-on volunteer work at a local club, church, youth organization, or elder care. Also serve on local councils or civic organization. No matter what, the individual's willing to volunteer and quick to lend a hand when called upon. So Ricky had asked me to see if we could get, I knew the last three, but I could not come up with the other ones ahead of it. I actually came up with one of them. So what we got was, I'm not sure what happened in 2007, because we started out in 2005 when we recognized the three ladies that put together the playground at Fulton Field. I don't know what happened in '07, but in 2009, Tony Sawyer was recognized for his contribution to the John Stark Youth Football Association as the driving force for the concession stand at the Bolton Memorial Park. He was also kind of jointly recognized because he did the overseeing at the time for the Hillsborough County Corrections Community Service Program.
Mm-hmm.
The town and the schools have both benefited from it. And then in 2011, the 250th anniversary committee was nominated, and it said that co-chairs Helene Kirk and Sherry were, and along with others, accepted the award. They were recognized for the impressive efforts to prepare a 250th year-long celebration. And then I had, I don't have the rest of the detail, but I had in 13, we gave it to Jean Bilodeau. And in 15, we did Dave Huey Sr. In 17, we did Ray Eaton. So we need to come up with one. Typically, I throw it out there for you to come up with one, but it's typically I don't know, a surprise, but it's typically something we notify them, and then you try to get the family there.
Mm-hmm.
Person, people, That's what we did for the last two.
Mhm.
Can't tell you because I didn't attend the one in 2013.
Right. I didn't.
And they do it during their open house, which is September 14th.
When do we have to let them know by? I mean,
I have to let them know as soon as I can. I'm thinking that if we can have a discussion, and maybe a work session discussion, something like that. If you've got some ideas we can throw around of people, I would hope that we could maybe give them the person. I said to have it done by the 26th, and you could make that nomination the 26th, and we could let them know
Mhm.
so that they have plenty of time to get it out to everyone.
Mhm.
August 26th is we'd have to let, make the decision with, so we could let them know and do the inviting and make the plaque and whatever they have to do.
Right. I don't want to get too far away, but I think now we can think about it a little bit. I got a couple of mine in mind, but
Me too.
right off the top of my head, but think about it.
So it's out there, but we
Yeah.
can't let it get dropped,
No, it won't get dropped.
or I get bugged. Now, I know Jeremy Chapman is here.
Okay.
Jeremy Chapman, I sent you guys all the information on the bait.
Oh, yeah.
And I also, Jeremy, the Conservation Commission also is out there in that area. So you probably all saw the email. Steve Najar asked if we would hold until they got the opportunity, but I guess my point is bear season starts, the baiting starts September 1st.
Yeah, the permit
Yep.
would have to be turned in by next Monday.
See.
Like, I have to have it dated by next Monday.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
time
See,
sensitive.
and I'm not sure that Conservation's gonna meet before then.
Right.
That's part of the problem.
For Wednesday, we'll meet the
You're not meeting till the 14th. and
14th,
that's-
yeah.
Yeah, he's got to have it in by next Monday, that's,
Right. Right. I mean,
Okay.
I don't have an issue with it myself, but
I mean,
You're gonna bait, can I ask a question? You're gonna bait the bears, you're gonna put bait out for them to come
Jeremy,
in?
come on
If
up.
Jeremy
Yeah.
can come up, please.
So you put the bait out, the bears come in, and then you shoot them?
It sounds easy, but it's not that easy.
Yeah.
But, but yes.
They're not gonna run from all over town, right?
You don't
They're-
wanna just
they're-
go out in the woods and try to shoot them without
Well-
baiting them?
I have hunted my whole life. I have never, other than baiting, seen a bear in the woods.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen them cross the road. I've had them at my bird feeder.
Yeah.
But, actually hiking it, I mean, I hike a ton. I just, around this area.
they get the state email.
Right. I mean, around this,
They-
even
they go hike.
summertime hiking.
Are there
it's
issues
pure luck.
in that area? Are there issues in that area with the bear coming in and bothering livestock or people, or?
Probably not. I mean, they get into bird feeders all the time,
Yeah, I
but,
know.
the Fish and Game puts out regulations of how many, bear they would like taken out of the population, and that's their way of controlling it. If you,
And that's how many apps
and they only allow baiting for a certain period.
it's a down, in fact, it's a week less down this way than it is once you get further north. There's less bears.
And this is only male bears, you're not taking any females now?
You can take a female.
She's got babies usually this time of the year.
So that is a self thing. I mean, it's
Judgment,
frowned upon
moral.
by everybody. It's a moral thing. It's frowned upon by everybody that does the sport to take a female with
So,
cubs.
yeah.
It's not you. There's no law against it.
Right.
You would very rarely find somebody that takes a.
Female, I would
But there
hope
will
not.
be people out there that do it.
Mhm.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
just like everything.
They
there's-
see the black hair and they shoot.
right.
And so what do you do after you shoot the bear? Does he bury it?
Well, you
Eat it.
Eat it.
You're eating it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, then I got into bear hunting because I'm an avid deer hunter. My wife, with venison, we got bear given to us. We're sitting at the dinner table. The second time we ate it, my wife looks at me and goes, "You can bear hunt anytime you want. I love this." And if it's prepared,
Ding.
if it's cooked right, and you're right. You'll give me an inch hunt, I'm taking a mile.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it, and I've enjoyed it.
Like any of it.
I've done it 4 years. I've shot one bear. I mean,
It's a lot of it's just luck.
Lots.
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I'm fussy. If a smaller bear comes in, I've passed up some smaller bears. I want a mature bear.
You only
That's
can
my-
take one a year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
No matter which, whether you bait it or you don't bait it, it's 1 a year.
20 year, yeah. Right, and it's kind of like the moose, they only put out so many permits.
Right, and that
They only put out
number's
so many bear
gone.
permits. Yeah, exactly,
Right,
right.
as the moose population is depleted, that number's gone from,
Yeah.
600 probably down to 120 or so. It's,
I can say under
Plus than
200,
that
yeah.
now.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very few.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, you're gonna be at the top corner,
Very top corner.
yep, of, the property, towards the pit, right?
Yes. Yep. So the ball field is down there, but I think it's almost a mile
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the ball
Right,
field,
yeah.
so, I mean, safety-wise,
So you, I know how it works, but I'm just gonna play
Yeah.
this conversation.
yes.
So you set it all up, and then I think you have amount of time you can take everything down, right?
Yes. Yep.
So you set it up, you let it run its course through September,
Down this way, 26, 21st?
It's the 21st.
Yeah.
Okay.
so you can bait from September 1st to September 21, and then you can, it looks like general season runs September 1st, October 21st. So once the
Yeah.
21st of September hits, you can't add any more bait to this.
And and if I were sitting in that stand and a bear came in, if there's any bait around,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
Because
I'm
I
illegal at
forwarded
that
you
point.
guys all the information that I got off of the website, because I knew a lot of you weren't familiar with it. But he asked specifically for, section K, which K is in our area.
Yep.
I mean, it happens all the time. I mean,
Wildlife
you know,
units.
you ultimately are landowners.
Mhm. I mean, we let other game activities occur.
You've
on
done
our-
one out by Fair and Pond.
Yep.
You've let somebody do something out
Yeah,
there.
we've done some
We've
beaver
also
trapping.
done
Do a lot of
trapping
beaver
in the
trapping
Bolton
and
Field
stuff.
area.
Yeah.
Trapping, yeah.
Done it,
I'm not sure.
Right.
I mean,
You live in
I
town,
don't
right?
think you're talking.
Okay, I
Yep.
thought so.
He's been his life in
Yeah,
Ware.
he's,
I thought
he's
so,
the
yeah.
hero. A lifetime.
Yeah.
Born and
I
raised.
thought so, yeah.
Born and raised here.
Yeah.
So,
My daughter babysat for
I
him.
brought it, I mean, Jeremy had given it to me
Sharon?
before, and I completely forgot to do it
Yes.
last week, and I
Snyder?
apologize,
Yep.
Jeremy.
fine.
So here we are.
Yeah.
And he's against a time crunch, and it's not a year, a month, it's a certain specified period of time, or I think your fines with Fish and Game are fairly expensive.
I don't want to find out.
Yeah.
The worst part is they take the license.
Take your license.
Yeah, right.
So,
Depending on the mileage, they'll take the guns and
I
everything
understand
else.
there was a want to wait, but at the same time, I mean, you're not talking somebody that just bought a gun yesterday and wants to go try it.
Been doing this for a while.
You know, he's been doing it for a lifetime,
Right.
so
Yep. No, I'm
mean,
good. No problem.
I
you
mean,
can try it with a 1 year. I mean,
Yeah.
we've
I
done
mean,
that
you-
before
you-
too.
You can't go out and get a license. I don't care what age you are anymore unless you have hunter safety. So, I mean, they don't.
But if he does it wrong,
So he ain't.
he won't be back.
Right.
Well, if he
Yeah.
does it wrong, the conservation officers will be hot on his
Be
trail,
hot on the
so.
trail, right.
If I'm not mistaken, you have to put your name and address on the bait too.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yep.
they know where to find you.
And you're allowed to have 2 sub-permittees.
Right.
So you can have 2 other people listed on there with you that can hunt that stand.
Right.
Do you have anybody that's a sub-permittee?
I have one,
You don't have to tell anybody.
No, you have one.
I have one guy, a local guy, lives in town,
Okay.
that I probably would put on there with me.
Okay.
So he can kill one bear and you can kill one bear?
Yes.
If he
Would you like
gets,
to be a third?
No, not interested.
Don't you want to try the meat now
Want me
that
to
you've
drop
heard
you off
it's
the
so
steak?
good?
if you cook it well, it's great.
Form that into a motion, we all get a
We all
steak.
get a steak. We'll have a cookout right here.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we allow Jeremy Chapman to have a bear baiting permit in the conservation area. What's it listed as?
411, I think it's 411-160 is the map number.
411-160, the map number,
It's the Bolton Field.
Bolton
property.
Field property.
Is there a second?
Second.
You want to just hang on, just for conversation purposes, just do it for 19, and then he has to come back and do it again next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the 2019 season.
Yeah, it's for the
Yes.
2019, just for the run of the permit, so.
Jan.
All right, and at the same, can you also add that we need to have Chairman of the
The
board
chairman.
signs only one spot.
I also add to that motion that we authorize the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Hipwood, to sign for that permit.
All right, moved and still seconded.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You're gonna
Abstentions?
abstain?
No.
Better not be any
I'm gonna be
I promise.
a yes. Signature, landowner's name, town.
You, and the, yeah.
I'll fill, yeah. Landowner stipulations, must supply us with meat, okay.
Cook our dinner.
I'll let my wife cook it, you'll be better off.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. It makes life a lot easier when this works.
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
What do you
She's that good, maybe
75,
she can go one of the celebrity
What's
chef shows.
Well, she's not
Cooking
that
bear
good.
meat.
Well, better be careful what I say.
Does she have, do you have Channel 6? You probably
No,
watch
we
it.
don't. DirecTV, so.
I'll be watching.
YouTube. Yeah, YouTube.
She doesn't know
I'm gonna
that.
tip her off.
Uh-oh.
No, I wouldn't do that. When you're done with it, before he takes them, just take a picture so I have it for that. I can
Yeah.
print it.
Get a copy.
And I have to give you a copy of it afterwards anyways.
Oh, okay.
But you can take a picture of it now, and then when I get it back, I'll give you a copy of it to keep on file.
A dirty picture frame. My granddaughter had a lollipop, so
Oh.
that makes the button not as nice either.
Well, as long as she didn't get it on the lens.
I had to take it apart, it was wet. Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you very much.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you. Have a good night.
See you in September.
Yeah. October.
Look at these car keys.
Save your trip back.
Okay. All right, next, sorry. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Really was sitting there.
The minutes today, did we not?
I only have the 15th.
You only got the first today, because I put them out there today.
Okay.
You had the 15th for a while, and
Right.
you also,
That's the
hi,
only one I
John.
have.
And you
John,
also.
thank you.
The 24th are only one sheet long.
15th. The 15th.
That's the only one I had, was the 15th.
Yeah.
No, maybe I put them up, maybe I know I put them on the,
Right here.
no, I put them on the,
Website? Yeah. Because I see
No, I
the
had
24th got posted.
Today's?
The
I mean,
20
the July 1st and the,
Well, the July
July 1st and the
24th got
15th.
posted today.
First and the
Today.
24th,
Yeah, I
yeah.
Yeah, the
didn't,
first
I
and
wasn't around,
24th
so I
got
couldn't do
today.
it.
right.
let's see.
All right, so which one's we starting with? The
Whatever you
the
wanna
15th, right?
That's the only one I have done.
No, the
They're the only ones we've got.
24th was short. We can approve that one too,
Oh, okay.
when we get to it.
Yep.
I gotta get back to them. 15th, right? So we're gonna table the first. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Because we just got them today? Okay. I gotta go find the 15th, 6/17, 7/15, there we go. All right, we're here, page 1. Anything on page 1?
I just didn't know if we should add something. Under public comment, the second paragraph down, it says the committee's first project was the Eastman Conservation Area, and it was. And the committee had been looking for a more heavily trafficked area. I just don't want people to think that there's only one other project out there that Mildred Hall
And the
did, you
easements
know,
too.
that
they've
that
got a lot
the
of
easement.
projects.
I don't think we can add something on public comment by somebody else, you know.
I mean, we can tidy up some
Well-
details, but I don't think we
No,
can
we
add.
can't, we can't add
to-
anything,
No.
you know.
No.
That's their comment.
I was just gonna say of many.
We can't.
That seems appropriate.
but it's not exactly.
Of many.
No, well,
I
Ben
don't
said-
believe it's legal for us to add something that somebody didn't say. They didn't say it. You know, they made the comment. You can't put words into somebody's mouth.
Did you take the thing word for word?
No, this is not word for word. This
That's
is,
what I thought.
Synopsis.
this
No.
is the summary of what she said, and she did allude to other projects.
First
I
project.
don't know, still think would be.
I think it's harmless if you put the first project of many, though.
Yeah, I think so too.
The what?
I think it's harmless to put it in.
Okay.
That's all I had on page one.
Okay. Page 2.
Page two. Under the Mildred Hall request, the second line down, over towards the end where it says "to the board to approve a request." Just add the word "to."
Okay. Anything else on 2?
Down at the bottom, I don't know, maybe I'm just reading it wrong, but it says unfortunately it wasn't able to due to the board timeline.
I think it's D.O.
I don't think that's what I meant.
It doesn't sound right, something's not right
But
there.
unfortunately, it wasn't able to
Able
due
to
to
do
the.
that. Able to
I think
do,
it's all right.
able
The
to
Mildred
do the
Hall
board
Bequest
timeline?
Advisory Committee was happy to be part of the project, but unfortunately
Wasn't-
wasn't able
Able.
to, due to
Due
the
to the
board's
board's
timeline.
timeline. Right.
Maybe a comma after
Comma
2.
in there, something,
Yeah.
it's a run-on
Or a
sentence.
comment in there.
Anything else on 2? 3?
3, and then Mildred,
The fourth line
wait a
down,
minute,
under Mildred Hall,
yeah.
absolute, abominable, and blight on the town.
Oh, there should be a front quote before blight.
If it isn't done, yeah.
Those are direct quotes.
Yeah, blight on the town, like
For blight.
black mark on the town.
Mm-hmm.
The front quote.
Okay. Yeah.
No, just
That's what Jack, lingo Jack would use. Yep.
Okay.
blight on the town.
Gotcha.
So, anything else on 3?
Yep, under Mildred Hall, if you go down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that paragraph, line up with
Starts as.
negative. Over, the new road construction will extend and instead of and. Just remove the D.
Yep. Anything else on 3?
Just trying to find it.
Up a couple more sentences from there, it's something about, I think they should.
Rock maples.
Rock maples. Features, including those 6 big trees. And they previously removed 50 big trees. Were removed during the 2013 due to safety issues. During 2000, not after.
Are they rock maples or is there stone wall there? Like rock stone wall?
No, they were rock maples.
I thought they were rock maples.
Maples,
but-
that's what he
I
said.
think
That's what he referred
yeah, I
to.
think-
Just asking.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's what it was. I mean,
All right, so rock maples,
Yeah.
comma, features.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on 3?
No.
4? That's one maybe?
Actually, I wanted to question you on this. It says that on the first paragraph on page 4, Selectman Osborne suggested proposing an assistant secretary position for the upcoming budget. It's already in the budget, so I
Yeah,
don't know
just
if that's what you said.
No, just, I think I was.
Filling it.
To
Oh,
have
filling the,
Chief Moore
yeah.
look at that line to see if he wanted to add
What?
to the line.
Okay.
I didn't see anything there.
Or consider having an assistant?
Well, the line's already there. I just
I know.
suggested to him that during budget season, it would be a place that he might want to be looking at to add to
Okay.
relieve the full-time secretary.
Gotcha.
See?
All right.
Next year.
Anything
Yeah.
else on 4?
Yeah, the next one down.
Which is?
Which is Quaker Street discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Chairman Hippler moved to authorize. Just remove the D.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't know whether you want to add, let's see, end of class 6 roads, 1, 2, third one down, third line down at the end, regarding possible 450-foot bottleneck, or you commented regarding a 450-foot bottleneck?
Comment regarding.
Um,
Yeah, it would be a potential if we allowed that
Yeah.
road to go through.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I would say
Regarding
regarding
possible?
the potential.
potential, okay.
Yeah. So, anything else on 4? 5?
On 5, I thought that, on the second line up, where Town Administrator Bolton requested the board's signature on a lawn care agreement with Lawn Boy Landscaping. So if you could,
Wait a minute, where are you?
Oh, I'm looking at the
Second paragraph
last one.
up, Town Administrator Bolton requested the board's signature.
should have signature there.
Yeah.
And then lawn care agreement with Lawn Boy Landscaping.
It shouldn't be lawn care because
It's a knotweed.
Japanese
that's,
knotweed.
that's the
It's the
spraying for the knotweed.
Weed, that's not the lawn care.
Yeah.
No, I know that. But that's who won it, I thought. I
It's
looked
lawn,
through
it's
them.
lawn boy, but it's not
lawn
lawn
care.
care. It says lawn care. See on lawn care agreement?
Oh, okay.
It's not lawn care. Yeah,
Oh, I
it's
thought that you were
um,
contradicting what I
spraying,
was saying.
poisoning of,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I
whatever it
don't
is.
know, yeah.
Weed control.
Yeah.
Control.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on signature.
Controlling measures.
Yeah.
Yeah, for vegetation controlling measures.
Okay, Lawn Boy, Lawn
Yeah,
Landscape.
it's lawn boy landscape though. That's who
Because it
we
takes them,
awarded it to.
What, 90 days to get the permit?
Yeah, so that's what we did. All right. Anything on 6,
Nope,
7?
yep. Town Administrator Bolton, it's the second one,
Yep.
second paragraph, will follow up on a quit claim deed. It's one word.
Quit.
Quick
Quit.
claim is,
Yeah, but it's QUIT.
Yes.
Okay.
I thought it was 2 words. Okay.
Anything else on the 15th? Entertain motion?
Make a motion, we accept minutes for July 15th as amended.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll go to the 24th because they're short and sweet.
I gotta get them.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah, okay. Get there.
Move to accept as read.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't see any
They were
mistakes there.
pretty
There's
simple.
nothing there.
Yeah, they were pretty simple. Okay. We're gonna drop the manifest down a couple. We got a couple of questions on it. So,
Do them now.
can do it now.
all right, we can do it now, I guess. All right. There was a question about if you hadn't spun the lock, you would have opened it from there. You hadn't spun the lock.
It's under big foot, I guess.
I just want to know which week it was. We have a payable that has been questioned.
Third one.
For the week of, right, doesn't say,
It was the last week.
7/19, that's when they were cut. For Bigfoot crushing, there was apparently a credit we had? Is
It
that-
said
Am I correct in
credit.
saying that?
But it was added.
But it was
It was
added
added.
instead of subtracted. So,
I don't know. I can't help you with that one. I mean,
really?
I'd have to ask Benji.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Well, it looks like it was added after. It doesn't look like Benji did it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah, it
no,
looked
no.
like
But I'd have to
Beth
get
did.
clarification. I don't
right,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a question. I didn't sign
Yeah.
it. We haven't
Yeah,
signed
because
it
on
for
the
that
pink
reason.
slips, it says there's a credit of that same amount.
Yeah,
But then it got added.
$2,038, something like that.
40 cents, yeah. So, all right. So if we remove that for further discussion, will we sign it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Another clarification. Okay. And there was something else we wanted to discuss too, so. That's gotta be done in non-public. I gotta get my calculator out. And you know something, we're gonna hold it until that, we're gonna hold it until after. So we can do it all at once, we can do all of our filming.
Okay.
So, we'll go to the administrative report.
All right, I'm just gonna hand you down, I was handed these after the box. There's a Group 2 position certification form. It's to do with the firemen that we're going to be hiring soon. They're gonna be a Group 2 with the New Hampshire retirement. So that requires us to let them know that we're going to have some Group 2 people, not just policemen, but firemen. There's 4 signature lines. Then I've got 2 voucher requests.
I have a question on that.
Which one?
The one that's coming down now, I think, the fireman.
The fireman, Ricky? Are you-
Is he going to come in and talk to us about?
Well, that's my question, who's the hiring authority of these
I've asked
two?
Laura that question, that was asked of me by the Board of Fire Boards.
Thank you.
Okay.
So
gonna
I
sign this?
emailed today, and she was gone last week, so I don't have an answer today.
Okay.
If you are, I won't sign, because there's only 4.
But I'll abstain. Go ahead and sign it, I'll abstain.
Yeah, just sign it anyway.
Yeah, I asked, question was asked of me, but she was on vacation last week and just got back
Because I'm
today.
thinking if we're signing it, then we're hiring. That's my take on it.
Well, we have to authorize the payments to go to the retirement board, so I think they have to come, not the Board of Fireworks, has to be the governing board of the town.
Then I think we're the wrong people to be signing this.
No, we have to sign it for the state.
They don't
so
do the payroll.
They don't do the payroll.
We do.
We do.
Okay, well, that's,
I'm
So that's for
thinking-
their retirement.
I'm thinking it's gonna work the same way as the other departments do.
we hire?
They've gone the step, you're gonna see them, and you're gonna hire them.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. But we'll wait for that answer, because I could be totally wrong, too.
Yeah, I just,
But I mean, we have to do that for the payroll. We have to sign
right,
it.
well, I'm not saying that we don't,
Yeah.
but,
So that question hopefully we'll have answered when she catches up. There's a voucher requests here for money to come back to us from the trustees. One of them, you have to talk about, I guess we can't do this either. Because it's got you voucher for the bell tower. We can't do that. Do you want to talk about the bell tower?
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I asked you guys to go over and look at the back side of the town hall. I know it's not what you envisioned, probably it's not what I envisioned, but I learned a lot.
You're not gonna sign
I
it.
learned that the rotted things are returns and not
returns.
crown molding.
Well, and that's a rake, actually, when they
And-
replaced it.
And the
Oh, I didn't say.
contract, because I took the
didn't
contract
sign
over
it.
when they were over there, and I thought the molding, I thought the, what's the matter?
Well, near 3.
I thought that,
I don't know.
I went over to make
I
sure
wanna
we're on
know.
the same page so we could
I
get
think
this
so.
behind us. So I took over the folder, talked to the 2 gentlemen, and I talked about the 2 rotted returns, not knowing they were returns. I said, when are you gonna do those? And he said, we're not. He said, the wording says,
Yeah.
repair the crown molding on the backside
I
of
knew
the
that
town
would
hall.
happen. I knew that would happen.
So, it's what it says.
Mhm.
They also painted it, which they didn't have to do. They went up and painted it. So, unfortunately, we've got what we wrote.
Yeah, and that's exactly it.
So, what I did ask is if they would take some pictures while they were up there and see if
What
they
they
could
thought.
get us a quote. But they're so busy, I don't think you're gonna see that happen this year.
No, I don't know if we'd see it happen next year.
So, I thought I thought totally different, but like I said, I think when you start looking at what we wrote to what we got, I think we got what we wrote.
Oh, I think you're right.
So,
But was that changed? Because I thought it said rake, originally, the original thing said rake and the returns.
no, I don't think so. This is all I got.
That's what the contract.
Maybe it's not smart.
Maybe I have some paperwork that I hadn't had
These
myself.
are-
I think
These-
maybe
these are aerial
discussion
pictures
you
of it.
might have
We might have made
conversated.
discussions,
Yeah.
but it
So-
didn't go in the
So,
contract.
But that was discussed with Tom, because I was over there with him when I went through all that with him. So, whatever.
They didn't
Got
write it.
missed.
yeah,
They
so,
kinda
with
stopped
that
it.
being said, this,
No, I get it.
this is the manifest for the, so, in order for this to happen, this, the manifest, as well as the capital reserve request, has to be signed in order for the money to come back from these guys. You got me? So, there's 2 copies of the manifest. There's a copy of the request for the capital reserve fund. There's all sign me here, sign me here, sign me here. They have to be signed.
Is that an old copy?
Is that a what?
Is it this week's manifest or previous week's?
It's part of what they're gonna approve later,
Maybe not.
but it doesn't need to
Do
be.
something else.
And then this is, this voucher has everybody's signature, which is to give us money back for the, floor at the library, the Century Roofing, which is the safety complex, and that part right there will give us money from the trustees back to us, so that'll come your way,
Before we get off the topic of
Yes.
the bell tower,
yes.
we have had a offer from a resident to take aerial photos of the town hall and any other building at 0 charge to the town. So if we wanted aerial photos from like
From
a drone,
drone?
from a drone
Yeah.
of the town office, town hall, whatever it may be, zoomed in, zoomed out, the offer has been made. And I just wanted the board to know that at 0 charge. So I don't know if that's something that we want to entertain for the bell tower work on the top, since I know I'm not getting up there to take a look at the roof.
Nope.
No interest at all. So, like I said, if, I don't know if you want that individual to do that. If so, I can contact him. But I think that's probably not a bad idea.
No, I think it's a good idea to have a record
No,
of it.
then we could send it and print it, and there we go, it's dated.
Yep,
And maybe put it in the file somewhere.
It's already-
So I will reach out to that individual and ask that to be done.
this one's already been signed, so,
What one?
part of it for the
No,
capital
that-
reserve
right,
request,
those-
so.
So what happens when you put the voucher together, you have to put
Yeah.
all the backup
Yeah,
with it.
I was just double
So,
checking it, so.
it's, no, it's gotta go that
Oh,
way.
it's gotta go there, that's right.
And then there is 1, 2, 3 abatements, all in the same neighborhood, that require this, they're all, you guys can figure it out. They've been approved by, they're all in one neighborhood at, Cortland. That's all I have. What's that? The assessors. And they're all for the same neighborhood. Find where else? Where's my paperwork? Do have one other. I was checking on the deed, and what I had to do, the deed that was mentioned in the minutes, is I had to wait, I couldn't have you sign it, because I had to wait till after July 18th for 3 years to go. So that's why I was waiting. So that's coming your way too. I think that should bring me down to, just give me 1 second. All right, we can go through my reports at this point. If you're all set. John, you can hang on to him. I'll grab from you after. All right, we can start with the government building one, I guess. So as you know, the town hall list, basically, they took pictures. I'm waiting for them to send a quote, but I'm not sure if we don't just solicit contractor,
I'd say we solicit
I
them.
would solicit somebody else.
just by the hour.
Yeah,
I just don't know
I'd say
For,
solicit.
for what again?
town hall
The
to
return.
do the
Yeah.
returns.
Yeah, we rebid it, 100%, full process.
Rebid what, just by the hour?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That-
Rot repair as needed.
Yeah, you probably get the returns, you probably get the fascias and some of the soffits. and-
I mean, the corners need to be, I mean, the actual,
All the corners.
all corners need to be
Yeah.
finished up.
Okay. So then, the bell tower I just talked to you about, the Gordon Brown buildings, you know we got one estimate before. Actually, Sherry sent me one, and I had somebody else send me one. I'm not sure, the two that both Sherry and I got were for replacing the roof. Actually, if you want me to wait while you guys are doing that.
Is that roof in that bad of repair that needs to be replaced, or does it just need to be reattached down?
Well, I guess one of them asked that if I knew what we had for material to put on the roof, and I don't. I don't know what it's called.
Get that.
Do you know what it's
paint.
called?
It's that silver tar-based paint.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, I know what it is, I can't tell you the exact name of it.
That's it.
It's an asphalt-based fiber.
You're not signing
The door,
this?
the metal roof.
Okay. Now, the other question that I was asked is if you drive down there, there's 2 silver roofs and 1 old brown.
The old one, that's the
So it's
old one.
only to do the old one?
Only the old one.
So, because one of the quotes I got was to, a new roof for the old one plus to put some sealer down on the other 2. Those aren't necessary?
No, it's just the old one, I understand, right?
So because we're with apple, oranges, and bananas here, what
Who
do we wanna do?
determined that that roof needed to be
it was
replaced?
just what everybody's looked at that I've sent down there.
They just used screws, they never put, there was no grommets on that stuff, it was just nailed down.
Back in the day.
There's no, it wasn't screwed down like you do it today.
So if we put that silver tar-based paint on there, how long does that give us?
No guarantee on it, because as soon as the roof heats up and cools down, you got expansion, those nails, I mean, if it's gonna leak, it could leak, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, could last 5 years, I mean, there's
Could be
no
a
way of
month.
knowing.
There's no way of knowing.
But the other issue that is down there with that, if you know, because of that bid that we had that's around $6,000 or whatever, 5,600, whatever it was, I mean, you could probably put a new roof on that for not a whole lot more than that.
Well, the roof, we
A
get,
corrugated roof, so,
Yeah, it's just corrugated
that's the
metal
old
roof.
corrugated farm,
But the
barn
other-
roof, I mean,
Yeah,
shed
but-
roof, so I mean, that's,
But the other issue, there's a lot of dry rot in that building. I mean, there's some of that would have to be replaced.
that's a
You
whole
know.
different issue.
Right. So, I don't know. I mean, that was an easy fix, probably to hold it for at least 5 years minimum.
put that stuff on?
Yeah,
You know, yeah.
but if you're
So
gonna
what
pay
would-
$5,000 to $6,000 to do that,
I don't
my
know,
opinion, you ought to be putting a new roof on it.
I mean,
The
$5,000
material we have is warranted for 7 years.
$5,000 or $6,000 to paint it without material, that's a lot of money.
Why can't the town rent a lift and check with Benji and have a couple of the highway guys paint the roof?
Yeah,
Nail the loose nails down and paint it. If that gives us 2 or 3 years, that's 2 or 3 years
yeah,
down the
do it
road.
probably in September, October, when it cools off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably
I mean,
October.
if he's got the help, extra help, I
Well,
don't know
why don't
what
we,
he's
why
got.
don't we make that inquiry into him?
Well, yeah, but he's already said he would, paint, or he'd do the doghouse and.
Well, I
There's
mean,
only
we,
so many things he
I
can
mean,
do.
we
Yeah,
can,
he
we
can't
can
be
make the
doing all of
inquiry
this stuff.
anyway, so we'll
Yeah.
just see what he says. If he says he can't,
I guess that'd be up to him to make the determination.
yeah.
Okay.
Just a suggestion. I
Yeah.
mean, we got the manpower if it's available. I mean, it wouldn't take more than, I wouldn't think, a couple days.
If that,
All right, I can ask him. Okay, the gazebo, Reed's Ferry came and showed up today. And I went over with Kyle Parker, because Kyle's the one, he's our building inspector that I sent, over to look at it when it was first done, and he's the one that said that it was terribly rickety, shaky, whatever you want to call it. So the gentleman from Reed's Ferry came out, we had a discussion, and actually, John happened to go by, he stopped and Jack stopped, and we were standing in there talking. I think what I got out of him was the ability that shaking is, they can do one thing to make it a little sturdier, but aesthetically, I don't think it's going to be very attractive. They can take what I consider to be a cable-type material and do an X down by the fence, inside by the chair. There's enough room there, but you're looking at a silver-colored cable in a white. I just didn't think it would look that good. Then he did talk about, 30 years. We talked about it. Typically, what he mentioned too is most gazebos have one rail missing, not two. So, meaning we opted to have two openings. Might tidy it up a little bit, don't know. But again, he said that they are gonna warranty it for 30 years. The other thing is it's been there for 8 weeks now. Maybe it's got a little more settling to do, I don't know. So, I'm not sure if you want to just keep an eye on it as it goes.
I think my personal thing is keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on
As
it.
long as we get the 30-year on paper, documented somewhere with a date of start,
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, he did say taking that extra thing out does take a little bit of the structural part, but, it's not critical, so.
Yeah, okay. So we'll just keep an eye on it. Kyle was very good with, Kyle asked a lot of questions as to how it was built, because he wasn't there. He found out that there was some, he was concerned with it being composite, but it wasn't, so. I do want to just take one more step back with regards to, I'll ask Benji. You guys had asked me to ask Primex about liability, and I sent over a question, and I said, whenever projects are put out to bid for town buildings, et cetera, we require certificate insurance. There was discussion amongst us to see if there was a waiver provision that a vendor could sign if they don't have insurance, but we would like them to do the work. She said, if something goes wrong with a project, and things always typically go wrong, the town would have to defend and pay for any claim potentially.
All set.
Not only should the vendor have their own insurance, they
All
should name
set.
the town as an additional covered. So I think that answered your question in the first.
So if we put them under Primex,
Can't.
no, I mean, if we did, I'm just saying that, then if they got hurt, they could sue the town?
Well, if we had to put them under Primex, they have to be an employee.
Yeah, at that point, they
Yeah,
might
I
as
know
well
that.
go.
Yeah,
So-
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Because we asked the
And
question.
so,
can't-
we
you can't give
talked
them
about
waivers.
waiving, there is no waiver.
There's no waiver.
She also made a point that this way of the vendor is responsible and the town gets sued, we pass the claim to the vendor instead of having to spend money defending the claim when the town's not responsible. So that was your answer to your insurance question.
Okay.
Clinton Grove, I think Sherry's pecking away at that whenever she gets the time. The ceiling and walls, I mean, I'll work at that too, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we decide that we're kind of where we are until something happens?
I think, yeah, we're kind of froze on that count.
We're about $81,000 now. We do have an issue with the AC, but I'm really not sure that we have an issue. I was gonna let it ride a little bit longer. Why I say that is today it worked really well. If you see that I had Peter Stockhouse come and take all the shrubs out of there, all the weeds.
Well, it looks
that
a lot
thing's-
better out there.
well, that's working without a problem now. So,
Didn't have
I did get 3 quotes for an AC unit. They range from, well, $35, $32.50 to $66.10.
Ooh.
Good.
But at this point, I think I'm not gonna announce anything, but I'm gonna just wait and see what these next couple hot days, because it may fall apart again, and we just turned it on today after it set and had time to breathe. One thing to keep in the back of your mind that a couple of them did bid, it's $300 to add the heat pump.
Which I think only makes
So-
sense.
So if you were to get the unit for $32.50, and you added a heat pump, it's $38.50.
So that's for the
What it does
60.
is it does heat as well as AC.
AC. These are all just AC.
These are
now.
all just AC. So, I mean, it's something to think about, but I'm gonna give it a couple weeks and see what it looks like before I announce
absolutely.
any numbers to you on that one. As you heard, the library, 10 o'clock to say, I got a phone call to tell me that they didn't have water. Not knowing why. Called Benji, he gave me a couple of avenues. Mike and I worked to try to figure it out. There's no, so I would say the stone building has no water.
Yeah.
I think you're on
Oh,
the
it's
same.
all on the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, including
So,
probably the,
I'll
like,
just
Legion.
double check with Granite State, Plumbing and
Same
Heating is our
one.
plumber.
Yep.
They actually were extremely good and showed up exactly when I wanted and called them. So,
Do they do well pumps?
well, they did water. I didn't know where we had to
Was
start
that
somewhere.
Granite State?
No, I know. I just
Yeah.
didn't know if they did.
Yeah, I don't know. They alluded that it may be a capital call, capital well.
Yeah.
It depended
We also have other vendors
until,
in town.
what?
We also have other vendors in town
Yep.
that could do that.
Yeah, no, I just said, you know, a well company.
I wonder who put the well, who put the well
Who
on
put
the
it
window?
in?
Doesn't
I don't
matter.
know. I don't know
How
even
long
know what
that
the problem
well-
is,
uh,
because I
that's
didn't
the
get a phone
pump.
call.
Who's the warranty on it?
Nobody let me know what was going on today, so.
That doesn't really matter who drilled the wells, who's puts pumps in.
Propane tank conversion, Irving has called and they want a second look, so they're gonna bring out an installer as well to get it better. We did give them the information with regard to the size and the number of feet of baseboard that we currently have.
Yep.
So we'll see what they say. Doghouse, town hall replacement, Tom talked about that earlier. He had come to me and approached me, and he was looking at just doing the legwork for us. But everything would be approved through you. The AC, I just talked about tonight. I'm gonna just hang on that for a little bit, just to see what the next few days bring. You did the Ethel Eastman Fund. Back a while ago, it was brought to our attention, you know that e-subscribe that's on the, so right now, as of 7/24, we have 163 subscribers.
Cool.
Yeah, they're welcome to add anytime.
Five or six right here in this building, or in this room.
There's a lot from the staff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, just to understand. Hometown Hero, we talked about. Class 6 road discussion, Jack alluded to this earlier this evening. There was a gentleman that has been through zoning, and he had gone through zoning before Mr. Siciliano was here.
Which one? Oh,
Renault.
Renault down,
yeah.
yeah, Sawyer Road.
He's got 2 lots on Sawyer Road, and he will be coming to us. He's gonna go to the planning board first. He's like the last of all of the last,
Okay.
even though Wiss was last. He'll be coming to us, which we'll just recite the same conversation we did.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what the planning board does with him first.
He came to the planning board the other night, so,
Are you guys gonna go look at it?
no. No, I mean, we've been down there, but he didn't have all his documentation. or
Okay,
anything at the
all right. So we'll see one more of those, and then I've talked to Kelly about going in the other direction, meaning starting here, working at the other direction. CIP, the capital improvement schedule, they're gonna start on Tuesday, September 17th. My question to you is projects, but I think we're gonna have to look at what Irving, or the quotes we get for those.
Will be.
The other thing may or may not, look at maybe some air conditioners.
Yeah.
You know, if you count them all up, and if
These-
you can
these
add a
put some
heat
age
pump
in
to
them.
it. Yeah, this isn't even cold.
Yeah, but this has got some age in it.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out how old they were.
Must be 15 years, isn't it?
I don't remember.
Seniors.
Sanyo's been bought by Panasonic, so.
Panasonic
We have a
and
folder upstairs that would have all
Yeah,
this.
we found a
the
folder
biggest
today.
one on the market is what, Mitsubishi is the
I didn't
biggest.
realize the roof at the town hall had been done in 2007. Oh, yeah, we found an interesting folder.
Yeah, yeah, I gave you,
In the windows.
I made copies of all that stuff, the stuff for the stone building, I brought a whole packet over and put it in a folder up there for you.
So, I don't know how old they are, but I think we're running on borrowed time.
Oh,
and
it sounds like
Maybe
it.
that's a project.
Mhm.
If by time you take it and multiply it by, because, and you think about $300 for a heat pump is
That's
really
pretty small
nothing.
dollar.
$1,000.
No?
300, you said?
300.
Oh, 300,
To
okay.
add on to.
To add
Yeah,
on
if
to
you're
it,
gonna get
okay.
an AC unit and you're gonna add a heat pump to it, it's $300 extra.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a no-brainer to me.
No.
So maybe we could talk about that, and I'll see if I can get the price for the furnace. I don't know if there's anything else.
Not that, I mean, we got just in the wing for this year, which is gonna be done, is the South Weare.
Right, that's why we were
Furnace.
holding where
Right.
we were.
That's where, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the firehouse down there.
That's why we were holding on the 81 that's there. And then the tax deeded property auction has been scheduled for Saturday, November 16th. I've already reserved the school and everything.
Cool.
Then, I think that's all. We do need to have non-public later for 2 items.
I'll just bring one thing up, Naomi.
Yeah.
Jason happened to stop, he went to the transfer station the other day, he stopped to see how the camera system was working at the police department. And I guess they cannot access the system from their computers, is one thing, which that was in the contract for them to have, and for all of them to be trained to be able to use it, and that's not happening.
The vendor can't access or we can't access?
You can't.
No, we can. Emily makes videos of them for him because we had a car that needed to be towed and she.
You're supposed to have all 6 of them. And when he went in, she said she can't. She can get into the recordings, but you can't. The rest of you guys can't do that, is what I was told.
Correct, yeah, she's the only one that was trained on it.
Yeah, but the paperwork that we had was 6 officers
Okay.
were supposed to be trained, and no one.
No.
It was 6? I thought it was train 1 or 2, and then they
No,
were gonna train the
no.
I
rest.
think it was all 6, but
I
okay.
think it was 6 of them, but she can check it on the thing. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was 6.
I think it was for all 6. I thought it was just.
And you didn't get the shelf for the new, for that piece of equipment that he mentioned? There's no shelf been put in there. They just set that piece of equipment that he said that you needed to make it work. They
I
just
don't
threw
think we
that in.
quoted with a shelf.
We didn't.
No,
I remember.
no, they quoted it with a shelf
It's-
the last time around.
I'll check. I didn't think the shelf was included.
was one in there.
But you didn't get it anyway, one way or the other.
Okay, cameras. All right, I can check on that. And then I just have actually two brief non-publics.
Okay.
That's all for I have.
Correspondence, are we making it, I've asked a couple times and kinda got no answer. Are we making any headway on our, issues on Blake Road?
I spoke to Kelly about part of it. and
Well, I've
she's-
asked a couple times and I
And
really haven't gotten any
she
solid
started to
answer.
make a little headway and getting some stuff removed, tires and so forth, but then,
No,
as-
we have no contact.
now,
because the
all of a
phone
sudden,
number's
the phone's been
discontinued.
disconnected, so she's.
They're making a ride out there Wednesday.
Yeah, she was supposed to go out there Wednesday.
Kyle and her are going out Wednesday. It's my understanding it's probably gonna be a DES issue, because
Yeah.
we've gotten.
And that's fine,
We've gotten
but-
to a standstill right now.
And where there's encroachment into a
Going
wetland
forward.
area. So that's where that stands.
Because he had come in and made conversation with her, and they had started to set up a plan.
And it's started actually to do
It
some of
started
it.
to work, and now the phone's been disconnected, so there's no conversation anymore.
Good.
So I know that they're going out there, and I do know if there's, I mean, she was just gonna call DES as well.
Yeah.
And is that that's a lot of junk, if I
Oh.
remember correctly?
You should take
That is a.
I haven't ridden out
That
there,
is
but
an
I didn't really wanna
that
go.
is an understatement. It's worth the ride, yes. We-
I didn't wanna go
I mean,
along.
and what we saw in there in the wintertime is nothing compared to what you see now that the snow's gone, you know? The snow has given up its
So
secrets.
if there's that many junk cars out there, he doesn't have all
Oh,
the junk.
not just
that's not even close to it.
I'll, just, because Kelly's been back and forth, but I'm sure she didn't.
One,
I'm off.
go out and look. One picture's
I-
worth 1,000 words.
I'll have to find somebody to go with me, because I don't want to go out there alone.
Just drive by.
Just
That's
do
all
a
you gotta do.
drive-by.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. Drive out, turn around, and come right back out again.
I wouldn't get out of the car.
No,
No,
don't get out. Just-
I don't think you need to.
Well,
No, you don't.
It has been.
It's all right
that's
there.
where it's gonna
Okay,
end up
I just want to
going.
make sure that we're
Yeah.
able to move
Yeah.
forward with it. I got an email from the DPW director just requesting that, that letters regarding DPW be read in their entirety.
Do you want me to bring it back for you to read it?
Oh. Oh, just moving forward. What else? I'll hold my comment.
Just, I gave you guys part of this we don't expire till 2022. I'm not sure what this game is.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Comcast thing.
Comcast.
But I do want you to, the Comcast, I would like us to have several requests for public input. Meaning,
Yeah.
let's have people come and tell us, because I've had that. We get more calls all the time about why can't we do this and why can't we do that. So I think if there's a request, when we're
Some,
doing
I
it
mean,
on.
yeah, some of that, as far as what some people ask for, is like bundling and having
Right, people like. the
internet.
bundle.
They have to go to the Public Utilities Commission for some of that, so
Yeah.
it's out of our hands.
Because I looked up the other one, I'm not sure why he says it's ready to, it's not.
No,
It's section 266 is open, well, it's 2022 is the expiration, so, because it was a 7-year contract, not a 5. Maybe it's a mistake. I don't know, but we can do that. Did, Chris, while you're here, I sent you guys all a memo from the chief. Chris, do you want approve, disapprove on it? I know you put it on the bottom for signature.
Sure. I mean, and
Is
all
it-
it was, I project the work that needs to be done temporary rather than permanent. If it changes, then of course, I've got the line item. That's what, since you brought it up.
We're talking about PD overtime,
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, which goes back to the,
Limited.
yeah,
limited.
limited,
yeah.
on a short-term basis.
Do you guys have an issue with how he laid out his plan going forward?
You
That's
guys?
just how we used to do it at my old partner's council referral. He asked questions, so I could give a full
Okay.
response.
Yeah.
Didn't know if y'all wanted that formal.
That's fine.
that's
I like
fine.
it, yeah.
Okay.
They're good
You all
read
set with
material.
Yep.
All right, you need a copy now that I checked it off? Okay.
I heard it.
Okay.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. You can watch it.
It will be.
Okay, that's all.
I guess I'm not gonna hold my comment.
Go ahead.
If the board thinks I'm out of line with making notifications on Facebook, as the public commenter said, then please let me know. I'll stop doing it. If you don't want me to fill in the public on information, I'll stop. It's
What are
fine.
you referring to?
I don't know what you're
I don't
referring
have,
to.
I'm not on Facebook.
There was a comment made this evening that I mentioned a couple weeks ago, that I try and, when I see questions that the board actions may have been taken as far as where the road paving is, et cetera, that I will try and inform that person on the Weare Facebook page. There's a couple of them kick around, a couple of different Facebook pages for the town of Weare, that I try and inform them the decisions that were made by this board. I don't go on a tangent of my own. I try and stay true to what the board has said in public, on TV. If the board wants me to discontinue that, I will. But I think the more the voters are informed, whether they vote or not out there in the social media world, I'm not telling them anything that we haven't done, or that we're going to not do, or that we haven't done, or whatever.
And I think, can I just add to that, if you don't mind? Chris does a good job, too. Chris has, I think the more information you can get out there, because Chris will reply to, I've seen Chris's.
Most of the time. I
Yeah.
Right.
Right, which is
Not all
exactly
of
what
them.
you're doing. It's not it's more of informational
It's
than it is an
information. That's all I'm
opinion.
trying to do is
Right.
information.
Yeah,
So I'm not
You know.
sure why,
Well,
when we are constantly faced with the, being transparent, that as long as it's,
Yeah.
it's information, I don't know what
It's
else you wanna
information and
do.
not
I mean-
opinion.
It's not opinion. I try and inform, you know, of
Yeah.
of
Alright.
events
No
that we've
problem.
done, things that we've done. I just, you know, the thing is, and again, if you guys want me to discontinue, I will, but I don't say, you know,
You know, I mean, that's fine, you're not stating your opinion. The thing is the bottom line of it is, some people are gonna take whatever you say and
and
whatever,
twist it, and that's
and
fine.
use it to whatever, but, and some won't. So, I mean, it's all in the interpretation, so,
But,
no.
I mean, we have to kind of face the day. It's technology.
Right.
Everybody gets their stuff from whether it's reliable or not, from social media or what have you.
You're stating exactly what took place, you're not putting your own
Not-
opinion or
no.
spin on it, so that's fine.
No, I mean, it's nothing that hasn't been said at this meeting, or any meeting that we've had, or, perfect example, when All States Asphalt came, that synopsis, that was one of the comments I made, that we had them come down. And they gave a nice presentation on what we do with our roads, or what the state does with their roads, and we're trying to mimic it.
And actually, we asked them to come down when we went to a class.
Yeah, and Naomi and I did. I mean, I think I was brutal on them for part of it. I was beating up on them pretty bad, but they did. They did, and they did a good service to us.
Yeah,
And I mean,
and I would,
I was surprised.
you know, I mean, we,
Can I ask a question, just out of curiosity? I know that you have a social media policy.
right.
What does it say about representatives of the town or?
I don't know if it says anything. I don't know if it says
As long as
anything.
we're not putting our own spin on it, or
Or on town time doing it. I think that's the other thing.
I
I
think
blocked it from here, so I can't.
I don't
do it
blame you.
here.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just, again, you know, if the board has a problem with it, I'll stop. But my thing is the newspaper is pretty dated technology. I'll be pretty blunt. Chief?
I would throw this out there, so monitoring the Weare Police Department's webpage.
Uh-huh.
Since I've started, pretty much, I've reached, those individuals who I've reached is up 39%, because they'll send me reports.
Uh-huh.
Engagement among community members up 124%. I think that's very positive. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you could have the same impact.
Right. I don't get reports
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that,
the
but that's
bigger-
fine. But again, he
It would be on the webpage. I can show you how to get it.
he can get it. He can get a report like that, you know. And the thing is that right there just goes to show that more people are interested
Right.
and gathering knowledge. Knowledge is power.
I think the biggest issue, you know, we don't use it as a, you know, which we don't, is a forum to get in arguments with people.
No.
You know, you
Use
state
it
the
as a tool
fact
to
and that's
inform.
it. You don't have to go any further than that. This is what is stated, this is it. You
Which
know,
I think
Not
you-
for public
You ran
debate
into
on
a
the,
couple
on
things
the,
at the beginning.
Yeah, I just
Like-
avoid the snipers.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly
And
it.
that's it. You know, I haven't experienced that, but the thing is, you know, we have. I'm looking right at the bottom of Sherry's page. There are 6,138 registered voters in this town.
Yeah.
If we can reach another 250 or 400 of them,
Yeah.
So be it.
so be it.
Yep.
I'm sorry, you know, this.
Reach 5 more.
I mean, we just talked about Comcast. Not everybody gets the Weare Access channel.
No, I
Not
don't.
everybody has the time, let's face it, to
Not
sit and watch the
everybody's-
YouTube videos.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And let's really face it, not everybody really cares what goes on in town, as long as they have a house to come back to. Honestly, it is,
Yeah,
you know?
They're not
So-
coming out to vote, so they're
No.
not too interested.
But if they wanna, you know, again, if they have legitimate concerns, then come here, please. Come in public comment. Thank you, come in public comment. State it.
You did a beautiful job.
But to one more thing, I think this is correspondence, and I apologize, but public comment is not public comment around here anymore.
No.
And I'm sorry. Public comment is somebody coming in looking for answers that if it's an agenda item, we could be prepared.
Right.
And I think we've kind of withdrawn ourselves because it's a comment and you should move on.
Mm-hmm.
The two-way back and forth shouldn't have to happen. If we want to talk about something, let's put it down and talk about it.
I apologize for
I
my
just-
comment tonight. I mean, I was a little out of line, but
No,
I've had
but,
enough.
I mean, we've heard a lot of,
I get
you
the
know.
target of that,
I don't
and
need
I've
the
had
answer
enough.
tonight, but, and then we do forget to go back to them, or we do forget to bring it up,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's, nobody get back to me. You know what I mean? It's kind of double-edged.
But even the party that concerned with that even said, do I have to get on the agenda? Which they know. They've been told that a dozen times, that, you know, you want the answers to the questions when you come in, get on the agenda so we can be prepared. to
Makes
come
a
in.
better conversation.
To come in and, get sniped, I mean, that's what it is. We can't answer these questions. We don't have the information at hand, or we don't have the time to research it. There's not just one thing that goes on. There's how many dozens of things on a
So
list
it just
that we
goes
go
to the
over.
same, you know what I mean, in public comment, we sit here, be quiet,
Yeah.
because, like today, we ran 10 minutes over into the next agenda item that took time to come on the agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the whole.
And, yeah, I mean, I guess we should have probably, but, you know, that should have been on the agenda, definitely.
Can I ask to abstain from this board and go to the podium for a comment?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess. You're a citizen.
Right.
You taxpayer?
A taxpayer.
No.
Unfortunately.
It is now.
I am now.
Yeah, paid the first bill.
Again, because public comment ran a little over, I was gonna do it, but we didn't have time, so. I've been on this side a long time. Ricky Hippler, 278 Quaker Street. I've made a request to the DPW director to trim the trees on Quaker Street. I happen to own antique trucks and trailers. Their height is 13.6. There's quite a few limbs I had to dodge and avoid on the way up there to drop my wood pellets off this year. It did smash the front of my trailer with a couple of limbs that were probably 2+ inches in diameter. So again, I just ask that the board support this. You know, like I said, I have voiced my opinion to the DPW director. But I know that my neighbor as well, not Mr. Meany, the other neighbor has a large camper trailer, and they said that they also have to dodge them going down that road too.
I've had to do it with mine also, so.
I mean, I know that PSNH and, well, Eversource and the cable company, stuff like that, they have requirements of the height of their wires so that we don't take them down. I did dodge a few of them. I think I missed them by a few inches. That's not an issue. I only go out with these in the summer usually. But I know that there was a lot of mowing that was done, and I did talk to Joe down at the highway department, and he said that they would get on it. I know that they're very busy. Again, I just don't want a limb sticking out one of the front of one of my trailers, that's all. So, thank you.
I notice Aspen's trimming the trees.
Oh, they are.
On the state roads. I haven't seen them on town roads,
They've been,
but I've seen them on the state.
they were up on Quaker Street back a while ago. They came
Right.
up and did some of it.
Yeah,
I
they did
mean,
Thorndike too.
And in conjunction with, that was contracted through Eversource, not, but we have some that they need to do outside of Eversource's, they're outside of their right of way.
Like I said, I know they're busy, I just want to make sure that the board is okay with them going up there and trimming back, and if any other requests were to come through similar to mine, if somebody had a, oversized motor home or something like that, that it would, that they'd be in support of trimming those trees back. And I know that it's been many years due that we've had a mower, and some of this probably could have been averted if we had a mower to keep some of it back,
Yeah.
but we're here now crossing the bridge. So, like I said, I know they're busy every day.
And get a lot of comments about that, that's been doing real well with that mower, so.
I actually stopped and looked at it, so it was at Southwest Station.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a nice machine. So, all right, does the board have anything else?
We got a couple things. Back 2-3 months ago, we had a joint meeting with the Conservation Committee, and we said we were going to meet again to go over the forester information so we could put that out for bids again. Just didn't want to get that
Try and get together again?
under the table.
Let's try and get that together again?
Yep.
Okay.
And the other thing is, in light of what we've just gone through on the town hall, my suggestion would be, if we're gonna do a building project like that, my suggestion would be to have the building inspector go look at it and have him help us word up the RFP so we don't get things missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Misconstrued.
think that
Yeah.
would be a very
Yeah,
helpful
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I asked him first, he's like, no, they're not called crown molding. I'm like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
First thing he said, sitting at his desk, I didn't know.
yeah. Just a suggestion, so it
No, I
maybe
think-
won't miss things next time.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that. Anything else? All right, I moved to go in non-public under RSA 91A.
Actually, I put together, Jan and I attended Governor Sunun's meeting.
Yes.
So I had gone up at the end of the I guess I was disappointed it was I don't think it was very well attended because they moved it from the Sweeney Auditorium at NHTI to the State House, and there may have been 30 people at the most.
Right.
So what I did is gave you a little rundown. He presented his budget and went to the House, and they passed it on to the Senate, and this is his common ground that you guys all got. But I took some notes and made, what he's actually looking from us to do is, there's some surplus out there. Last year's approved budget was 11.9 billion, this year's 13.1 billion. So there's an extra $1.2 billion to spend, and he just wants to know how to spend it. What's being proposed, which is why he's called the Road to Common Ground, was the large concern of year 3. If year 3 rolls around with a propose that they have, it's going to create a $94 million structural deficit, which he has a problem with. Right now, he feels that we've reached kind of like the economy, because this is the first time in a long time that the revenues didn't meet. They were short on the revenues by $4 million for June. Their estimated projection, they were $4 million short. It sounds like he's consistently wants to stand his ground on the increasing the business profits tax, because he did talk about it's not just the big guys, it's also the corner stores. So you can increase the business profits tax, but you're affecting the little person
Little
too.
guy.
And he's wanting to drop it down, and he's willing to go another session of staying the same versus making his jump down. It appears that the House budget, which you guys can look at, it's not great copies, they came from my phone. The House budget had put a lot of time into the massive education funding, where the Senate put money into increasing provider rates. It's unemployment honestly increased for the first time in a long time. It went from 2.4 to 2.5. So he basically wants to spend your money smartly, and at the end of the day, it's got a balance, and that's what he's trying to get and achieve. And if at the end of the day, if you want the money back here, he'll send it back here. But you got to tell your representatives that's what town of Weare needs. I found it very interesting, and I don't know if Jan did too. There was a gentleman that was actually a selectman stood up and said they do that, but it falls on deaf ears. There was a gentleman that stood up at the end of them.
Yeah.
He was a tall gentleman he was a selectman.
Yeah.
And he said, and so Sununu offered that if you're talking to your reps and it's not working or you're feeling it's on deaf ears, then write to him directly. You all have his email. And he'll go from there. And I think one thing, I liked what he said at the end, it's not politics, it's really about the math. It's making it balanced, doesn't matter which side of the aisle you sit on. You have to make it balanced. It's not gonna be any less than $11.9 billion. But if there's a surplus, he's willing to ship back and share with you all, and that's what he'll do.
And, I think that statement rings true, because I met him at,
His energy level's phenomenal.
the Veterans Cemetery, and,
He's a very good presence.
my father let it out of the bag that I was on the Board of Selectmen, and he said, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So I think that rings true.
Yeah.
I've known him since he was a very young man, and it's...
Don't be dating yourself over there.
No, and he, and every time I've met with him, I mean, like you said, the energy level is phenomenal, and the other thing is, I've even met him when he stopped here at the polls, and he, I don't know if there was anything we could do, and his door was open at
Yeah, I
any time.
tried to snap, because
and
he
you could
had
talk
big,
to him.
huge boards that had everybody's budget, but if you actually send it side by side, it's kind of interesting to take all four.
Yep.
To see where they are, because some go straight across. Some started out, he started high, and then there was a cut, and then he whittled it down and moved it somewhere else. So I think, but it's interesting, and I think it's if where, he said he gave us money before for the roads, which he did. He gave every town, like, we got $238,000 to share.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's willing to give it back and put in the community. We just have to tell him what we want. So I just thought it was very interesting. I wish he would do more of them.
Okay, that's fine. Nope.
I wish he would do more of them.
Thought you were gonna-
And I
Yes.
really wish more people would attend. Because they called here to tell me it got moved. They called 7525 and I didn't get it. It doesn't come to my phone. So I drove all the way to NHTI and to have a big sign on the
Oh,
door that said,
no.
go to the other place. So, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. I mean, but
I
that's.
got an email.
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah, my email and hers didn't work. It never does. But anyway, I just think it was good, and I hope he does hold more. He's the first one that's done it since Shane. Hassan didn't do it, and Lynch didn't do it, and it's kind of an open door.
Yep,
This is what we got policy, which I think is a great thing.
absolutely.
Was there
Open it
any
up.
feedback,
of
what they
amazing to
wanted,
see which
whether they
town-
Well,
wanted?
there was one gentleman that was consuming all the time, and a lady from the front stood up and told him it was
Yeah.
her turn.
He was from Newport.
Yeah, he was from Newport, and he was back and forth, not badgering him, but there was a lot of them that, Berlin was there.
Right.
You had the city of Manchester there, you had Nashua there, you had Berlin, you had Newport, you had Goffstown, Auburn.
Did they want their money back?
Newmarket,
Did they have any thoughts on that?
Londonderry.
No.
Well, the whole conversation with the first gentleman started out, and if you want to just talk for a minute, the first gentleman, Steve, was from Newmarket, and his biggest problem was the downshifting that the retirement system did to us. Because they used to contribute, the state used to contribute 12.5%, and then they wiped it away completely. So everything gets downshifted to the town, and that's where he had a problem with it, is that if they're not going to help us out, then let us create our own retirement system and let other towns do it, because you're downshifting it down. Eventually, we'll get caught up, but we're going to downshift. Hopkinton, he spoke, he's got the best of both worlds. I don't know why he was worried about it, but the selectmen in Sutton, they were talking about restructuring endowments. It's just, they get a ton of money from Fidelity, and they put it in these endowments, but then it's kind of, they don't want to share it.
Yeah.
So the scholarships, where they get this much endowment, they should give that much scholarship, they give this much. So that's why there's $80 million in surplus in the education.
Yeah.
But yet they're crying for the,
And then Nashua, he was the mayor, he spoke, and Manchester spoke, Goffstown. Jeff from Newport took up a good share of it, the lady from Lebanon Dairy. So a lot of them, I think they all had their certain needs, and that's why he said, tell us what we need.
Yeah.
Tell us what you need as a community. Everybody had their own little niche, and that's why everybody went. Mr., what's his name there, from Berlin, he said he would have been happy if he gave him 4.2.
Paul Grenier, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the mayor.
So, I mean, it was, I thought it was like I said, I thought it was energetic.
Yeah, I
It
thought it was
really a
interesting.
nice.
It was good.
If he didn't have to go to a bill signing, we would have been there for another hour.
Yeah, he would.
The meter would have run out.
His guys in the back
Would he
kept telling him.
validate? Should
No,
ask
that
him to
was,
validate.
he's really interesting, and he's
Yeah, he is.
open about the whole thing.
Yeah, very well educated
Very
on
well
what he's doing.
It's good.
That's all I have, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Oh.
I think, the first non-public, we will need to include Chris.
Yep.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
See ya.
See you tomorrow.
Wow. You know, mind me dinner?
Why
Wow.
am I getting shut in here?
Oh,
She just shut you in.
yeah, that's all right.
Eileen. Haven't had? Well, I don't know. We have.
Yeah.
Has to make a motion for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rick.
It hurts.
Oh,
Feel. What hurts?
$1,140 for a brake job? Parts only? For a car?
no, it's those.
I had
it's
that happen
those-
to me.
It's those chargers.
Right.
Ouch.
Somewhere
That's
else.
because you can't, I told you couldn't get them from.
I know.
I thought they were 500.
Yeah,
I thought they
That
were
was
too.
last week.
That was the receipt I had, was $600 each, not $1,100 for one.
Can't they go somewhere else anymore?
I'd like to
Oh,
think
is
so,
it
but it's
under?
probably dealer-only parts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
only.
see, I had that happen to me for my
I know.
Mazda.
Oh, see, this
I'm an SUV fan.
this bill I like this, $45. I can tolerate that one.
I know years ago, one of mine,
Now, do you
it
have to
was,
toss
the
those
exhaust
in-
was dealer only.
All right.
Yeah.
So Hannah's waiting.
All right, so I'll move to go on non-public under RSA 91A3, I'm gonna roll 2, A and C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll
And
be
we're adjourned after?
well, we have a second one, right? We have two
I just
non-publics?
have a taxpayer.
Okay, yeah, so we'll be adjourning after a second non-public for taxpayer information.